You're listening to Football Friday Night on demand exclusively on 600 ESPN El Paso. Stay up to date with high school football scores, updates, and news by downloading the free 600 ESPN El Paso mobile app. All right, welcome in. It is Football Friday Night, the preview show. Adrian Broadus here, along with Paul McKinnon. Man, we've got such a busy slate of games tonight across the city of El Paso for our third week of Texas high school football action. The pregame show brought to you by the El Paso Association of Builders. Big shout out to the El Paso Association of Builders. If you need a real Texas builder, visit them online, elpasobuilders.com. Let's go over to some of the games last night. We'll preview the week 3 of Texas high school football here in the city of El Paso, and we'll get out to some of our reporters over the next hour. Remember, just a programming note, we've done this for the past 2 weeks. We've received some great response on this. That's kind of surprising there, Paul, that we got some good reaction right there. But we've gotten some great responses so far here on the pregame show, what we do in 600 ESPN El Paso, talking high school football. We'll continue to do so. We'll continue to talk this high school football. But I want to let you know, as soon as the El Paso Chihuahuas wrap up their game, Tim Haggerty off the broadcast is going to send it off to us. We'll be right back in action. I figure we're on tonight a little earlier, unless there's some extra innings with the El Paso Chihuahuas tonight with Albuquerque. But regardless, we'll be on as soon as the Chihuahuas broadcast ends, and we'll get you out to some live scoring updates and some recaps all across the city of El Paso. Paul, we're here. Week 3. It's district play starting for 6A. It is non-district wrapping up for 5A, 4A. How you feeling?
Well, I was going to put the over/under. I think the over/under for us tonight is I'm going to say 8:30. That's where the betting odds lie.
I like that. I'm good with that.
That's getting on here. That's about second half. So if you're a fan of high school football, you can really get a full dose of it tonight.
Let's jump into it. Let's not waste any time. Yesterday's games, there were 2 at 6A. I was at one. You were at the other. This is perfect coverage. We've got one game going on right now. Want to give a scoring update really quick. And we just got something new from Felix Chavez. I just saw his tweet come out from the El Paso Times. Pebble Hills Eastwood locked in 7-7 tie right now. First off, Gael Ochoa rushed in for a 3-yard scamper, and then on the other side it was Evan Minjares who had a 3-yard touchdown run for the Eastwood Troopers. We'll get to this game in just a second, especially with Steve Escajeda out there, but let's get to the games from last night. First off, Westside Bowl, Franklin versus Coronado. The Cougars, they beat the Coronado Thunderbirds last night in a 57-23 fashion to kick off 6A play. Shea Smith, quarterback for the Franklin Cougars, 5 touchdown passes. You had running back Jordan Morales back in action. He actually missed last week, Paul, and back in action this week. So dealt with a little bit of an injury, but had 2 touchdown runs this week. Elias Rangel, he's really exploding out of the wide receiver group. But the big story for me as far as a player goes, standout for Franklin, it's Bo Sparks. I mean, what he's been able to do this year, catching 3 touchdown passes last night from 50 yards out, 28 yards out, and 15 yards out. He's put together a special season so far, been a reliable weapon, kind of that Cooper Kupp-like player for the Franklin Cougars. And, Franklin rolls over Coronado yesterday, 57-23. Any thoughts there?
Well, yeah, and you talked about Sparks. He does it on both sides of the ball. I was thinking it was last night, but it was probably a week ago. Had a couple of picks as well, so he's a shutdown guy in defense. He reminds me of so many other guys who a terrific route runner and just catches everything that comes his way. I can think of a lot of guys like that. If you take it to a professional level, I'm not saying he's Steve Largent, but he's that kind of guy. Doesn't look that fast, but he's always open and always seems like wide open. And when you're a quarterback, especially a guy like Smith, who's he's had some experience a couple of years ago, but really this is his first year as the starter for the Franklin Cougars. What an athlete he is. What a specimen. But when you got a guy wide open, seems like all the time, it's pretty easy pickings. I think Cam Bird knew it last year, and I think Mr. Smith knows it as well. Kid's always open, and he's always making plays.
I'm going to be honest with you, Paul. I wasn't really disappointed with Coronado because the Coronados of years past would have shut down. They would have been shut out in a game like yesterday, but I thought they showed a lot of fight. Athlete Blake Randag out from yesterday's game with an undisclosed injury. The idea is that he was sitting out of this one, maybe back next week. Not sure about that one. But what I really liked was senior Cade Little. I mean, he returned to kickoff for 88 yards, had some key runs throughout the game. Quarterback Owen Levesque is a reliable player for Coronado. I think the Thunderbirds are a team that you should watch out to have a sneaky upset victory that could lead to them making the playoffs in such a tough 6A. Now, that's a stretch right there, Paul. It really is, with a 9-team 6A, which is pretty much loaded top to bottom. But the Coronado Thunderbirds, the way that they're coming out so far under new head coach Mike Pry, really like things so far for them.
It looks like the quarterback play is better. Like I said, last year was awful. Tristan Escovedo, the 3-year starter, he went down, and you had Randag and Levesque fighting it out, splitting snaps, and neither one of them looked too good. Levesque already this year looks better than anything they had a year ago. And as you said, Blake Randag, a big play guy. Remember what he did week 1. Touched the ball 5 times, touchdowns, 4 of them. The only time he didn't score is when he jumped on a fumble. You can't do anything there. But, they've looked so much better this year, and I think they'll be fighting it out for, maybe the 2 teams I saw at the SAC last night. Montwood and America's going at it for, maybe the 4th and final playoff spot.
Perfect segue over to that game out at the SAC last night. Thursday night game, Trailblazers eke out a victory, 40-37. They led 29-16 at the half, but I really liked the way Montwood fought back in this one. I thought it was over multiple times, and the Montwood Rams simply wouldn't quit.
They really did. They really did fight back, but it's a game they should have had. Got the ball back, a nice long return from Diego Oaxaca. Boy, he had a nice game with a few exceptions, which I'll mention. But 45-yard return, but a 10-yard penalty brings it back to the 40. But they still, I'm not sure clock management was the best. They wanted to keep things balanced, run the ball occasionally. Those 6-yard runs, but just took too much time off the clock. Then they had to force the ball into the end zone at the end, and that's where the real star emerged. Ball got tipped up in the air on the force. And Mario Holguin runs right under it. His 3rd interception of the night. Guy's got 4 picks already this season. And really, his first pick was the one that mattered the most. Montwood, early momentum first quarter, already had a field goal, driving toward another score. And actually, they had an easy touchdown in the bag. Ran a reverse throwback pass. Diego Oaxaca, that's the guy I mentioned. Pulls up, rolls a little bit right, pulls up, looking to throw it to the left side, has a guy wide open. The entire America's defense all within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. This guy's making a beeline for the end zone. Only problem, Oaxaca just had to put a little air on it. 20 yards in the air with a little arc, and that thing is about a 60-yard touchdown. Stead throws it on a line, and Holguin just cuts right in front and goes 62 yards the other way. That turned of momentum. As I said, as you mentioned, America's up as much as 32-16. Kicked a field goal, started the third quarter. Montwood came all the way back. Cam Harrelson, a couple of interceptions. That kid has a couple of picks every time I see Montwood play.
Wow.
So he's a turnover machine. But just couldn't get it done, as I said, inside the final 20 seconds. The interception by Holguin, and that finishes him off. America's moved to 1-0 in the district. Montwood, of course, disappointing. Falls to 0-1.
I'm going to ask you a tough question, Paul, before we get out to our first break and then get over to Steve Escajeda out at the SAC right now. How does this 6A shape out? Because are there any guaranteed teams in your perspective? I don't think there's a guaranteed team, at least to make the playoffs in my eyes right now, until we see at least a little bit more from 6A district play kick off.
Well, there have been blemishes on all of them. Franklin did themselves no good week 1, just getting smoked by Centennial. I don't think that should happen. I think the 2 teams with the biggest bloom on them right now are playing right now out at the SAC.
Sure.
Eastwood and Pebble Hills. Pebble Hills a big shutout of Canutillo week 1, 23-0. They cruised through a good Divide team last week. Eastwood respectable against South Lake Carroll. That game closed for a half. Of course, Carroll does what good teams do, teams that are top 5 in the state. They scored late in the half to get up a few scores, and, it was all she wrote from there. But Eastwood looked terrific last week against Cruces. How good Cruces is, I guess we'll find out. But they beat them worse than we're used to seeing El Paso teams beat Cruces teams. And as you said already, Eastwood, Pebble Hills. Eastwood got on the board first, the quick TD, and then Gael Ochoa, which he did last year. Short touchdown. Remember, this was a 29-28 Pebble Hills victory on a Thursday night last week with all those sophomores, including Gael Ochoa, the quarterback. Ran one in with just inside a minute left, and then the 2-point conversion. They went for it, they got it, and they handed Eastwood a big L. Eastwood disappointing through the first half, but you know what? It turned out pretty good for them all the way into the round of 16. Smoked Americas to get into the playoffs, and as I said, a couple of playoff wins went further than any Eastwood team ever has gone, and you wonder if success like that breeds more success. Maybe these guys are thinking they're better than they used to be. We're going to find out tonight. This is a huge game between maybe the 2 best teams, and Franklin would take exception in District 1-6A.
Our co-games of the week tonight. That's right. It's a SAC doubleheader. It's Eastwood versus Pebble Hills, Eastlake versus El Dorado right after. Our 2 games of the week tonight, brought to you by 915 Tours, who brings us the game of the week each and every week. Let's go out to the SAC right now. We're joined by Steve Escajeda to give us the lowdown for Eastwood and Pebble Hills. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, guys, we've got 7:22 and counting here in the second quarter, and the Eastwood Troopers and the Pebble Hills Spartans are tied at 7. And this game so far, just as advertised, these two guys going at it back and forth. Eastwood took the opening kickoff, and thanks to a really good run back by Max Macia, set him up at the Pebble Hills 35-yard line. Just 5 plays later, then quarterback Evan Mijares ran it in from 3 yards out to give Eastwood that early 7-0 lead. Pebble Hills on the ensuing possession got the ball again right down the field methodically. Finally, their quarterback, Gail Ochoa, scoring for 1 yard out. That tied the score at 7-7 with 4:11 to go in the first. Right now, Pebble Hills is threatening. They're inside the 10-yard line. They're looking at a 3rd down. But Eastwood just had the ball a couple of minutes ago. They had driven it down to the 5-yard line of Pebble Hills. On a 3rd and 5, Mijares throwing it in the end zone. It was intercepted by a defensive back, Ricky Gallegos. Actually, on a tip pass, he intercepted it into the end zone, and that's why we're still tied at 7. But tonight's ball game, very simple, guys. Great offense by the Eastwood Troopers, tremendous defense by Pebble Hills. To prove that, Eastwood comes into the ball game averaging 507 total yards of ball game. Pebble Hills, they only give up 197. Eastwood, 38 points in ball game. Pebble Hills, they only give up 6.5. And just to give you a little bit of see how Eastwood's going tonight, in that first quarter, they did amass 111 total yards. And, of course, that one easy touchdown, which already puts them over what Pebble Hills has been allowing so far this year. So Pebble Hills right now has the ball 3rd down and goal from the 7-yard line. There's a timeout on the field. We've got 5:58 now to go in the second quarter. It's Eastwood 7, Pebble Hills 7.
Great stuff, Steve. I really appreciate it. Call us with any hot action you get. Give us a halftime report when it gets to half, and I really appreciate that report there at the SAC in our game of the week. Before we get to this game, want to thank 915 Tours for joining us for this one. They're a division of Classic Elegance coaches, and they're providing the best travel packages from El Paso to Dallas for Cowboys home games. In fact, right now, they're doing a special on the Cowboys home game against the Cincinnati Bengals. They're getting ready for the season opener this weekend against the Bucs. Packages include round-trip travel, hotel stay in Dallas at the Omni, an ultimate fan experience tailgate, a meet and greet with a Cowboys football player, and, of course, your ticket to watch the Cowboys, and that's 915 Tours bringing us the game of the week. 7-7 tie between Pebble Hills and Eastwood. Paul, I mean, this is going to be an interesting one, but I thought it was going to be high scoring. I'm surprised to see a lower scoring game here in the second quarter.
Well, maybe it's low scoring, but both teams are moving the ball. It sounds like, I don't know if Pebble's touchdown after the Eastwood touchdown was on one possession, but if it was, that means it took about 7 minutes off the clock. And moving the ball the way they moved the ball, the teams that hurt Eastwood last year, remember, it was teams like Pebble Hills that were able to run at them. Ochoa went for 120 yards, and I think they got another 70 from somewhere, so they ran for about 200 yards. And then you go to of course, like Eastlake and what that Uribe kid did them. Teams that are able to run the football, pound the football, grind the football against that Eastwood defense, at least last year, were able to keep control, keep possession, keep that Eastwood offense off the field, and eventually steal victories. We're going to see if that's the same case this year. Is that Eastwood defense, the defensive front seven, going to be able to stand up to the Pebble Hills running game? Oh, by the way, they can throw it a little more this year. Jaleel Bost has had a couple of nice games. He's good for 4 catches, close to 100 yards a contest so far this year.
We'll get to Brandon the Iceman Cone out in Northeast El Paso as Andrus hosts Del Valle coming up next. But first, let's take a timeout right now. When we come back, we'll run down the full local scoreboard here in El Paso for Texas high school football action. You're listening to Football Friday Night, the pregame show, right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. All right, let's waste no time. Welcome back. Football Friday night. Adrian Broadus along with Paul McKinnon. Let's head out to our local scoreboard real quick, and we'll run down some of the games that we've got going on right now. In our 915 Tours game of the week, we've got a great one in our 2 co-games of the week. Tonight, first off, it's Pebble Hills going up against Eastwood. We already have an update from Steve Escajeda. This is going to be a lot of fireworks out at the SAC tonight as this game rolls along. And then we also have another game that's coming up here shortly. Andrews hosting Del Valle, going to be a great game. Brandon the Iceman Cone out at this one. Seminole taking on Mountain View tonight. That'll be an interesting one as well. Jefferson hosting Riverside. I'll be out at this one. Battle of undefeated teams. 2-0 on both ends, Riverside and Jeff. I'll have the coverage over there out at Jefferson High School. Jaime Chavez will be out at Austin High School as the Panthers try to get their first win of the season against a really tough Canutillo Eagles team. Should be an interesting one out there. Parkland going up against Burgess. The Mustangs trying to get their first win of the season, while Parkland coming off a tight win against Austin last week. Bill Kuhn will be out there. David Guess will have the coverage for Hanks going up against Irvin. The Hanks Knights 1-1 on the season. Irvin Rockets 0-2 on the year so far. J.D. Sursley out at Isleta tonight as the Indians try to get their first win of the season. They're 0-2 on the year, while Bowie's coming to their territory tonight. The Bears are 1-1 on the season after a big win last week against Horizon. Russ Bannister out at Clint as the Lions host Gadsden tonight. Clint is 1-1 on the season, while Gadsden 0-3 on the year. Let's head out to the phone lines right now. Welcome on Brandon the Iceman Cone. He's live in Northeast El Paso. The Andrus Golden Eagles hosting the Del Valle Conquistadores. Brandon, take it away.
Thank you very much, and certainly a very intriguing game for the Golden Eagles as they will have their first home contest of the season. 0-2 on the year for Andrus. Well, that's kind of interesting because, look, they had to start off playing at Eastlake and at Franklin, so certainly trying to avoid an 0-3 start. Last week, without running back Malcolm Anderson, did not play due to a high ankle sprain. The Golden Eagles, of course, they've been outscored 69-14 in their first 2 losses of the year. Anderson accounted for over 25 touchdowns in 2021. So this is a team that's desperate for a win against a very good Del Valle team. Elias Duncan, of course, their signal caller, a gentleman who went 23 of 45, 224 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, though he struggled mightily so far this year. And keep in mind, second-year coach Chris Taylor was 9-3 last year, 12 returning starters, so certainly a high expectation for this team. And, of course, they do have some good defensive weapons that they have, especially a front four in Jaden Patterson, Andrew Carbajal, Eric Romero. So they're trying to get that first elusive win this evening, but easier said than done against a very good Del Valle squad. They are 1-1. They did lose 50-13 against Pebble Hills last week. What a start, though, for their quarterback. Jesse Ramos has, 413 passing yards and 6 touchdowns. But, of course, they've been without one of their main wideouts, Damian Diaz, so they want to see if he's going to be able to come by and be able to play tonight and, of course, be healthy. But this is also a team on the other side that certainly had a big win against Burgess opening night, averaging 206 passing yards, 6 touchdowns in the first couple of contests, 133 rushing yards. Led on the ground by Juan Archuleta, who's got 30 carries for 160 yards. And then also they have a slew of good receivers in R.J. Bacamontes, Eli Molina, and Jonathan Estrada. So we'll see if they're completely healthy. We'll get you some information from both coaches prior to the start of the game at historic Alan Sepkowitz Field in far northeast El Paso. Should be a good one between Andrus and Del Valle.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Really appreciate it. We'll be sure to follow your Twitter page for some coverage tonight as well. Check out Brandon the Iceman Cone at Brandon Cone on Twitter. Let's go out to Steve Escajeda. A quick update for Pebble Hills and Eastwood before we end the hour and get ready for our final 30 minutes here on Football Friday night. Steve, take it away.
We've got 3:25 to go in this opening half, and Pebble Hills now leading the Eastwood Troopers 14-7. A guy we usually see on defense, Robert Deal Jr., giving the ball on 4th and goal from the 3-yard line. He ran it in for a touchdown to give Pebble Hills that, again, 14-7 lead. I'll just give you a quick quarterback comparison so far in this ball game. Eastwood quarterback Evan Hades, who threw for over 400 yards last week. So far this ball game, he's 3 out of 6 for 48 yards, and he does have that 1 interception. But he's doing most of his damage on the ground tonight. 8 carries, 54 yards, and the Troopers' only touchdown. Pebble Hills quarterback Gail Ochoa, he's at 7 out of 7 so far to start the ball game for 75 yards. And, of course, he's also contributed on the ground, 13 yards only, but one of those was for a touchdown. So 2:44 here and counting to go in the first half. Pebble Hills right now is marching again. They've got a 1st and 10 at the Eastwood 24-yard line, trying to make this a 2-score lead. Again, 2 minutes and 30 left to go in the first half. It's Pebble Hills 14, Eastwood 7.
Thank you so much, Steve. We'll talk to you here at half, or give us a call with some more hot action as it comes. But we'll get out to Steve Escajeda in our Game of the Week later on here as Football Friday Night continues. Let's take a timeout right now. When we come back, final 30 minutes of Football Friday Night. It's coming up here on 600 ESPN El Paso. All right, final 30 minutes here. It's Football Friday Night, the pregame show. Adrian Broadus, along with Paul McKinnon. Bo Bagley will join Paul McKinnon after the Chihuahuas broadcast. That's how we're doing things for the rest of the month of September. Might be back September 30th. Who knows? For radio, for our usual Football Friday Night coverage. But nonetheless, we will have all the action for you following the Chihuahuas baseball. We'll recap all the great action for you Football Friday Night. It's week 3 here on 600 ESPN El Paso. And Paul, I have an update. It's our 915 Tours Game of the Week. It's our co-game of the weeks out there for the SAC doubleheader. Pebble Hills wide receiver Marcus Torres helped set up his own 12-yard touchdown catch with a catch on first down, writes Felix Chavez. Pebble Hills is up now 21-7 on Eastwood. How about that, Paul?
Wow, 21 straight for Pebble. You got to be sweating it out a little bit. If you're Eastwood, the one thing for them, they are explosive. But as we've seen and we've spoken about before, Eastwood plays like their hair's on fire. A lot of times it's big plays. Sometimes it's interceptions at the tag end of a long drive, like happened on the second possession. And I think that's really the spot where the momentum turned in this one. And again, Eastwood is going to be able to have to stop that Pebble Hills running game. When it's 4th and goal from the 3, they weren't able to do it, 14-7. And now you just heard Coach's kid Marcus Torres goes in from 12 yards out as Pebble Hills. Again, we talked about good teams. What do? Score right before the end of half and change a close game into a 2-score game, go into the locker room. That's huge for the Spartans.
Oh, it really is. And our second co-game of the week, it's El Dorado Eastlake out at the SAC as well. Steve Escajeda will have the coverage for that game. One of the best early season storylines that we've had this year has been El Dorado freshman. Yes, freshman running back Ryan Estrada's explosive come-out party for the Aztecs. Through 2 games, he's racked up 319 rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns. But his success on the ground, can that continue into district play? Or will the Aztecs win a key district opener tonight against the Eastlake Falcons to stay undefeated?
Well, I mean, already he didn't have the week last week that he had in week 1 where, he went for a couple of 100 yards. I think he ran for about 100 last week. The thing that I find interesting, though, the quarterback, big brother Quincy Estrada, 3-year starter. I mean, he split time with a Portillo kid last year, but Quincy Estrada was always trying to do everything himself. If there was any rushing numbers, Quincy Estrada had them. If there was some passing numbers, he had them. And, when there were some interceptions from a guy who's trying to do too much, Estrada definitely had those too. Quincy Estrada has really scaled back. He, runs the ball maybe a few times. Oh, there's 40 yards for Quincy Estrada. Nice job letting little brother Ryan do all the work, and Quincy Estrada being more of a facilitator, running the El Dorado offense these days. Fewer turnovers. That's one of the keys. The one touchdown for Ryan, again, the freshman a week ago, an 8-yard touchdown reception in that win against Chapin. But yeah, I just think having another weapon. Remember, he lost his weapon from a year ago, Isaiah Ruddison,
right,
the running back / pass catcher coming out of the backfield. Devin Thomas, the big play receiver, till he broke his collarbone about 6 weeks into the season at Fort Stockton. We were thinking maybe this was kind of like a Burgess situation. Drew Rutledge for Burgess comes back, quarterback, 3-year starter. Wow, nice to have experience. But all those guys, the Tavares Jones guy who was pretty good, he's not around anymore. And all those senior receivers, Ray Campos and Sean Street, Adam Sosa, those guys are all gone. We thought that might be the case at El Dorado. And boy, Quincy Estrada was in trouble then. But little brother Ryan brings some game to the field as a freshman. unbelievably. And we talked about this last week a little bit. I can't think of a freshman who's had an early impact. Even guys like Deion Hankins. Deion Hankins ran for 300 yards as a freshman, second half of the season for Parkland. That's about what Ryan Estrada has right now. And in fact, it is what he has. Even going back, John Skelton, I think he came up halfway through his freshman season for Burgess. I think they brought him up as a surprise for Riverside. I don't remember that one working out too well. But L.J. Martin, similar circumstances. He came up halfway through the freshman year, ran for about 300 yards. So these guys they're freshmen and they're on the varsity team. That never happens. But they don't smoke anybody the way Ryan Estrada week 1 did against a good Parkland Matador defense, especially, a couple of 100 yards, all those scores as El Dorado gets a big win. So it's going to be fun watching him throughout the season. He's a kid who's like about a 175, 185. So he's a sturdy freshman. You always worry about those guys getting hurt, but I mean, so far so good. And it's going to be a fun ride while it lasts.
Well, it might be stopped tonight by a team in Eastlake who really holds it down defensively. What Hector Hinojos has done at the linebacker position, already 38 tackles in just 2 games for the Eastlake Falcons. They've become a force under head coach Ruben Rodriguez in 6A. They're kind of juggling what their identity is offensively. Senior quarterback Javier Ortega, you got a sophomore in Luke Lomelli. They need to kind of find that identity on offense, but defensively, this team has it. They have it probably more than anybody you're going to find in 6A, other than maybe the likes of Pebble Hills, especially on defense.
And you're right about Hinojos, tackling machine. I don't know what he is this year, 16, 17. That's about what he was a year ago. Lomelli out third quarter last week. I think we need a status update on him. Sure. I think Steve Escajeda, he's on that case. Second game rolls around. We'll find out what the deal is. A lot of times it could be just replacing somebody, like the Montwood game I looked at last night. Once the Galvan kid threw, I think his third interception of the night, they went to the Southern young man. And, he led the comeback late, but also a couple of interceptions of his own. So sometimes you come out because you can't get on the field, and sometimes you can't. You make the change because the coach doesn't want you out on the field. So we'll find out which of those was the case for Lomelli. But you're dead on. The defense, I think, definitely ahead of the offense for Eastlake, which is still looking for an identity. They're not ground and pound the way they were a year ago with Elijah Uribe. They're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think they will when it's all said and done offensively. I think the defense will probably carry Eastlake as the season rolls along. So El Dorado Eastlake, that's our co-game of the week tonight. And for that one, both teams coming in unbeaten, 2-0 on the season. Again, right now, out at the SAC, Steve Escajeda is covering Pebble Hills, who is hosting Eastwood. This is a 21-7 game in favor of the Spartans. Eastwood trying to get back into this one, down 2 touchdowns. Want to get over to another preview that we have. Speaking of unbeaten teams, how about this pair of unbeaten squads? It's the Riverside Rangers, who are 2-0 on the year, at Jefferson Silver Foxes. They're also 2-0 on the season. An interesting matchup. I'll be out at Jefferson High School for this great game. First off, with Riverside, Coach Gary Ricoder has really built a winner at Riverside, and it's largely thanks to their star quarterback in Angel Speedy Munoz. I'm ready for this comparison right here, Paul, and you tell me if I'm wrong. He's the most polarizing quarterback I've seen since Darius Barfield at El Dorado. And it's just because the way he could throw the ball, he could run the ball, and impact games on both ways. Is that too far right there? Am I giving too much to Angel Speedy Munoz?
Darius Barfield, pretty mercurial. Good enough that San Diego State was all over him back in the day. So,
sure.
We'll see about that. And by the way, you mentioned Munoz in a couple of ways. Running, we know intercepting. He had a pick 6 week 1 for a score. And in fact, actually, Riverside's first points of this season came on his interception return. And oh, by the way, they're throwing him the ball these days. They're experimenting, and I think this is for down the line when looking to make another playoff run. Dave Campbell's has them as a regional finalist, in Region 1 this year, and they rounded 16 a year ago. But I think they want to be able to do different things. They'll plug in the Montillon kid at quarterback and split out Angel Munoz. They did it last week against Burgess and did it a little bit in week 1 against Esleda as well. So you're right. He's dangerous like Barfield. That's why they want to put him in so many different situations. One place he's most dangerous, though, is under center because he's got Jose Guardado right next to him, who was like a 1,600-yard back a year ago as well. So when you put 2 weapons side by side like that, I like it because either you're giving the ball to one weapon or you're pretending to give it to one weapon and the other weapon's keeping it. And, that usually works out pretty pretty well. That little yin-yang action. Defense has to cover both things at the same point of attack. That can get difficult. And against teams you're better than, Riverside's going to just roll over them between Angel Munoz and Jose Guardado. But as the season goes on, you get against tougher teams, just like splitting out L.J. Martin last year and throwing him some balls in the playoffs. You're going to have to be able to do different things, and Riverside's working on it.
The same way you describe the balanced attack that Riverside presents reminds me of Jefferson with their quarterback Roman Gomez, their junior running back in Miguel Rubio. That's kind of that run-first offense that you're going to see out there led by head coach Tony Martinez out for the Jefferson Silver Foxes. As a team, they totaled 343 rushing yards in their swift 31-14 victory at Irvin last week. Can the Jefferson Silver Foxes hang on in this game, or is Riverside too high-powered to match up against Jefferson in this game?
You would think Jeff's not able to hold on, but you still got to like. This looks like, the best Jefferson team we've seen in years. A season ago, as they took fourth place in that district, 2-5A last year. It's hard to keep track. They keep switching every year. But
sure.
Terrific team. They graduate a lot of talent, but these guys still come out pretty strong, and you still have a Rubio running back. Every time you got a senior Rubio at running back, if you're Jefferson, you make the playoffs. Jose Rubio got him into the playoffs for the first time since 1997. What was that, 4 or 5 years ago? Last year, it was Arturo Rubio. It's hard to keep them. Arturo Rubio was your senior running back, and this year it's not Diego, Miguel Rubio.
That's right.
Who's a junior running back, had his first 200-yard game a week ago in that victory. But as you said, Roman Gomez is the guy. Remember when Arturo Rubio, his junior year, knee issue, that was COVID 2020. Just in one of the bizarro things that happened that year, you lost Rubio to the knee. They plugged in Gomez, did a credible job as a sophomore, and that's when he got on their radar. He was a receiver last year in a good receiving core, and they had him plugged in at receiver again this year, but you just need some talent in that quarterback position. He doesn't always start there. In fact, I don't think he started either of the first 2 weeks, but he finds a way to matriculate his way to the quarterback position. And once he's there, he makes plays, and by plays, I mean long runs. You hit it right on the head, Adrian. You got that little yin and yang attack. Rubio and Gomez, one's carrying or the other's carrying, and whichever one it is, it seems like both of them are making big plays. We'll see if they're going to be able to do that tonight against an extremely tough Riverside, best team they've seen this year.
Let's talk about some of the other games that are on the schedule for tonight. Seminole going up against Mountain View. How do you see this one, Paul? Mountain View coming into this one 2-0, unbeaten, trying to keep that alive.
And trying to throw the football. Remember, a new quarterback, Alex Dominguez, but still throwing the deep ball. You get a new head coach, DJ Check, and he told our Joey Panisi week 1, hey, we want to spread things out even more and throw it around even more, and that's coming off a season where you had a record-setting quarterback, right, who'd never thrown for more yardage than any before, and they just want to one-up that, and they have the parts. Hansel Hernandez, 1,200 yards through the air, I think, as a sophomore. Same, Gil Gamboa had a big game last week on the ground. He returns. Alex Lerma plays mostly defense, but he's another option on offense. All of this returning talent except for the quarterback, and it seems like the Dominguez kid is a pretty good fit. He's got a big arm, and when you spread things and throw it around, that comes in handy. When you throw the deep ball, opens up that underneath stuff. This would be a huge win for them against Seminole tonight. Going to be a tough contest. Haven't seen Seminole against enough area competition yet to see what they have, but I think absolutely. We've seen the Mountain Views and the Clints of the world. Once the playoffs roll around, they do have a chance, especially first round, and to be competitive maybe in round 2. And this will be a good dose of how good exactly the 2-0 Mountain View club is. Should be fun.
Let's go over to some of the other 4A, 5A games. You tell me which one interests you. Clint hosting Gadsden. You have San Eli playing against El Paso High. Hey, reunion right there. Former, coach out there, right. Ray Aguilar Jr., now coaching at El Paso High. He previously was at San Elizario. Horizon hosting Fort Stockton tonight. 2-0 Fort Stockton. That's what they are. Scorpions going into this one 0-2 on the season so far. Fabens 2-0 at Cathedral, who's 1-1 on the year. Any of those strike you right there, Paul?
Well, you hit on the El Paso San Eli game. Just from the standpoint, San Eli played Pecos tough last week. It surprised me a little bit. Remember, Pecos is part of our 4A Division 2, 1-4A Division 2 this
That's
year.
right.
So they'll be competing against the Mountain Views, the Fabenses, and the Clints of the world. And I want to say 12-0. It might have been a little more, maybe 18-0, but it was a lot closer than I expected. Pecos and San Eli. San Eli's been a whipping boy, especially amongst the teams we just mentioned, the Fabenses and the Clints of the world. So that was interesting to me. So does that tell us about what San Eli this year, or does it tell us a little bit about what Pecos is, or maybe a little bit of both? I'm looking at that San Eli game tonight to tell us a little bit more about what San Eli is.
Yeah, I also heard that El Paso came out of that in a tough game last week, a little banged up. So we'll have to see how many guys they actually have active out there.
Jerry Chide is their quarterback, who's everything to that offense that did not finish the game. And by the way, we'll get to that sometime before the night's over. But what a wild game Hanks in El Paso was last week. 39-33, going for it on 4th and 5 from your own 6-yard line. Insane. By the way, Ray Aguilar not in that game, so I'm not calling him insane. Maybe the assistant. But hey, whatever works. You're a genius, right?
I'm with you there, Paul. Hey, we got 3 other games to preview. Austin hosting Canutillo, Burgess taking on Parkland, Irvin at Hanks. We'll talk about those games. We'll also get a recap of the first half from Steve Escajeda. But let's get out to our final break before we wrap things up here on the Football Friday Night pregame show. Charlie One has our next traffic update.
In the El Paso Metroplex, what we have right now is a couple of crashes to watch for in the El Paso Metroplex. First of all, on the west side, South Desert and Artcraft, we have a crash here. Again, that's South Desert and Artcraft. In the valley, Alameda and Americas, we have a crash. Again, that's Alameda and Americas. So caution here in central Montana and Cotton on a wreck. Heavy traffic right now. You're tapping on the brakes. I-10 East Piedras through Reynolds. I-10 West Juarez ramp. That traffic is backing up on the Juarez ramp back to Reynolds on those westbound lanes. So caution here. Caution also on the freeway on the west side. We have some construction going on. We're talking about I-10 West at Mesa, I-10 West at Red. Heavy traffic. This update brought to you by Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon. Open for dining and carry-out Tuesday through Sunday from 11 to 8. Party trays, popular Mr. T specials, full menu. Fresh, delicious, affordable. Don't forget the delicious sopapillas. And also don't forget that they have the pequeña chops, sirloin steak, or chicken breast. Go Miners, the Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon. 31-600 ESPN El Paso.
All right, final segment here. It's the Football Friday Night pregame show presented by the El Paso Association of Builders. Big shout out to the El Paso Association of Builders who brings us the Football Friday Night pregame show, and it's brought to you by Real Texas Builders. Ask your home builder if they're members of the El Paso Association of Builders, the home of Real Texas Builders. Visit them online at elpasobuilders.com. We're going to head out to our 915 Tours game of the week in just a little bit between Pebble Hills and Eastwood. We got a sack doubleheader for our game of the week tonight. So 2 games of the week. And then we will also get you over to our local scoreboard following the conclusion of the El Paso Chihuahuas broadcast. That's what we're getting you over to at the bottom of this hour with voice of the Chihuahuas, Tim Haggerty. And that's what we'll talk about later. Paul, real quick, just want to reel off 3 other games with you real quick. It's Canutillo going up against Canutillo going up against Austin. You have Parkland up against Burgess. Irvin taking on Hanks. Any thoughts on those 3 games right there?
Austin jumps out at me just because a team that won so many ugly games a week ago and they come out bang, bang and lose a couple of ugly ones. 18-15 week 1 to Fort Stockton, and, of course, last week Parkland drives the field in the final seconds, literally. Little field goal was there. His kid with 2 seconds left, and they lose 10-9. So, like I said, these are the games that they were winning a season ago. Early on this year, not so much, but they're still playing people tough. And Eric Pichardo, man, his teams show up and compete every week, and they overperform. And 4A is coming. Remember, they're in 4A this year. They're going to be fighting it out with Riverside, especially for first place, they assume, in that district. So, let's see what they have tonight. It's time to turn the corner and start winning those games that they won last year.
One note for the Parkland-Burgess game. Curious to see the status of wide receiver DJ Chris Daniels with Parkland.
Yeah, missed a week ago. The thing I jumped to is these two teams played some terrific home and homes about 4 years ago.
Sure.
If you remember the lights out game, I think Burgess jumped up by a score early fourth quarter. The embankment of lights go out. Coach at the time, Eric Franz, they got half the lights back, but not all of them. I think it was about 75% of the lights at the Burgess Mustang Stadium.
Call it game.
No, we're not going to play in this, but if you want to come back and play tomorrow, we'll play. And, of course, Neil Rutledge the Burgess Mustangs with a little flow and, about to get their hands on the ball with about 8 minutes left. No, we don't want to come back tomorrow. So that turns into a tie somehow. And the very next year was even crazier. That was my helmet falls off, so the clock stops for me. So we bring in a backup quarterback because the QB Herrera can't stay on the field, so they bring in the backup, and he throws a touchdown with almost no time on the clock. And the kickoff return, there's a personal foul, and that puts Burgess in field goal range. They kick a field goal and go to OT, and then there's a fumble. Just craziness. And that's what I look at. Can we get that again? That kind of lightning in the bottle? Probably not. But it's fun to dream that Burgess and Parkland, when they get together, are going to create some kind of magic.
We don't have much time, but we'll head out to our 915 Tours game of the week. It's our co-game tonight with Steve Escajeda. It's Pebble Hills going up against Eastwood. Steve, give us the halftime report.
Yeah, we're here at the SAC, and the bands are out on the field. It is halftime. Pebble Hills out in front of Eastwood, 21-7. Troopers took a 7-0 lead really early, less than 2 minutes into the ball game, but since then it's been all Pebble Hills. Give some quick stats here. The first half for Eastwood, they're led on the ground by Evan Mijares, their quarterback. 8 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. However,
Oh, man, we just lost Steve. Well, at least he gave us the score, and at least he gave us the halftime rundown right there, a little bit of it. But we'll get out to Steve later on after the El Paso Chihuahuas broadcast with Tim Haggerty, voice of the Chihuahuas, coming up next. But, yeah, Paul, Pebble Hills up 21-7. Eastwood having to crawl back in this game. I don't know if they've got it. They've got 2 stellar receivers. They've got a passing game that was flexing them, and really feeling themselves last week against Las Cruces. But can Eastwood bounce back in a down 2 scores? That's the big question.
We know they have the weapons for it. The negative I would see is that Pebble Hills, again, able to run the football. They're grinding out long drives, and anytime it's a short yardage, they're able to punch it in. The Robert Deal 3-yard touchdown run jumps to mind. But also, what it would be a little scary if I'm Eastwood, especially defensively, is Guile Ochoa, the quarterback. Not only is he running the football, first touchdown of the game, little 1-yard run to knot things at 7. But speaking of 7 out of 7 through the air. I assume the short passing game. Passing is not what Pebble Hills has done traditionally extremely well over the last couple of years, but sounds like they're having success today, and that's nothing but bad for the Eastwood Trooper defense.
We're going to wrap things up here from our Lubingo studios. It's our Football Friday Night pregame show brought to you by the Real Association of Builders. That's the Texas Builders Association, and really appreciate them and what they were able to do with us. The El Paso Association of Builders. You can learn more online at elpasobuilders.com. Coming up next, El Paso Chihuahuas baseball, and then following the baseball game, Bo Bagley, Paul McKinnon back in action for the Football Friday Night post-game show. You're listening to 600 ESPN El Paso. Thanks so much for listening.
And it's week 3. Welcome to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. In for Mark Miller, I'm Bo Bagley, only for the second year in a row.
Right.
Hey, for producer Angel Munoz, the effervescent Paul McKinnon, I'm Bo Bagley here to bring you week 3 of high school football all over the borderland. From the land of enchantment to West Texas, we have you covered all over the borderland. 9 reporters all over the city, staking claim to those high school football stadiums and having the updates all over town right now as we talk about high school football in West Texas and southern New Mexico. Paul, exciting day today. We had it all over town. An exciting game earlier today, especially between Pebble Hills and Eastwood. Pebble Hills coming out victorious, 40-22. Pebble Hills improving to 3-0 and the real deal in 6A.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. They really showed who they were. Eastwood got off to a quick jump right down the field, touchdown pass, 7-0. You know, with that Trooper offense, once they start to roll, it's hard to get them off that roll. Well, Pebble able to do that. Second possession, an end zone interception. It was already tied at 7 then. Pebble goes down and scores. They stuck, I think it was like 4 scores in a row on Eastwood and then just traded scores the rest of the way. Pebble is a tough team this year. A lot of folks wondered, well, maybe these guys are still a year from away. Most of their best players are still juniors. Well, they were sophomores last year. They got a lot of experience, so they're young, but they're experienced and young, and they're pretty darn good. And I think the Pebble Hills defense showed that they are among the best, if not the best, in the city of El Paso this year today.
And head coach Mark Torres has Pebble Hills rolling so far 3-0 after a 40-22 victory. We're talking about Eastwood. They've had no easy schedule this season. Their 2 losses to Pebble Hills and also South Lake Carroll. So no slouches in the state of Texas. Eastwood's still a very good team, could put up a lot of points if we saw last week. They're now fallen to 1-2 on the season with really a lot of their 6A schedule still left to play.
Yeah, like all of it, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, we're talking about our 915 Tours game of the week. El Dorado at Eastlake. Right now it's 17-0 Eastlake in the first half. We'll go out to Steve Escajeda in just a moment for an update. In other action, Riverside over Jefferson 21-14. Now Jefferson jumped out to an early 7-0 lead in this one. We'll have an update from Adrian Broadus in just a moment. Del Valle up on Andress in the first half 17-7. Brandon Cohn with the update in just a little bit. Canutillo all over Austin right now 35-0 in the third quarter. This has been the LJ Martin Show, especially in the second half. We'll get an update from Coach Jaime Chavez in just a moment. Parkland jumped out to a 21-0 lead over Burgess, now leads the Mustangs 21-6 in the third quarter. We'll see if the Mustangs can come back. We'll hear from Bill Kuhn in just a moment. Hanks all over the Irvin Rockets tonight, 56-14. It's been all night tonight at Excalibur Stadium. We'll hear from David Guest in just a little bit. Seminole topping Mountain View, the previously undefeated Mountain View Lobos, 60-21. We'll hear from Joey Panisi. In other action, a slugfest down at the reservation. Isleta over Bowie 13-7. This has been a slugfest so far, tied at 7 early on in this one, 13-7 right now. Isleta over Bowie in the first half. And also Russ Bannister will have an update from Clint and Gadsden. Clint taking a 12-7 lead in the third quarter. We'll have an update from Russ Bannister in just a little bit. In other action, Bel Air leads Chaparral 47-0 that in the third quarter. Fabens over Cathedral 7-0 at halftime. San Elizario coming back from a 13-0 deficit to lead El Paso High 14-13 at halftime. Centennial up in the land of enchantment all over Mayfield 49-6 at halftime. We'll have more from that game in just a little bit. Anthony over Hatch Valley 19-7 early on in that one. Horizon trailing Fort Stockton 25-3. No surprise there. Fort Stockton is a powerhouse. Oregon Mountain playing for their injured linebacker and running back Abraham Romero, down 7-3 with a lightning delay to Rio Rancho up in Albuquerque. And then Santa Teresa all over Cobre 28-6 at halftime. Okay, to our 915 Tours game of the week. Let's head out to Steve Escajeda at the SAC for an update on El Dorado and Eastlake. Steve.
We've got 2:05 here left to go before halftime, and it's been all Eastlake tonight, 17-0 over El Dorado. So far, the star of the ball game has been Eastlake quarterback Luke Lomalee. The talented sophomore has thrown for 102 yards so far and a touchdown. He's also run the ball for 47 yards and another score. So with 2:05 left to go here right before the half, Eastlake 17, El Dorado nothing.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. Eastlake really pulling out to this one. Paul, what are you thinking? Your early thoughts on this game? A little bit of a late start there, but Eastlake really playing well at home, jumping out to a big lead over El Dorado.
Yeah, and the fact that they put offensive points on the board today, I think, is the biggest key, because last week their only points came on a fumble return. Eastlake offense was hurting. They're starting to get well here in the first half tonight.
Absolutely. And remember, our game of the week brought to you by 915 Tours. It's a division of Classic Elegance Coaches, is providing the best travel packages from El Paso to Dallas for Cowboys home games. They're getting ready for the season opener against the Bucks this Sunday night. Packages include round-trip travel, hotel stay in Dallas at the Omni, an ultimate fan experience tailgate, a meet and greet with a Dallas Cowboys player, and of course, your ticket to watch the Dallas Cowboys. Our game of the week brought to you by 915 Tours. Hey, let's head out to more action down at Silver Fox Stadium. Let's join Adrian Broadus for an update on undefeated Riverside and undefeated Jefferson. Adrian.
3:09 left here in the third quarter. The Riverside Rangers up on the Jefferson Silver Foxes, 21-14. We just had both teams trade turnovers. First, it was Angel Munoz at the quarterback position who threw an interception. Jefferson defensive back. In this one, Dylan Navarro swiped that interception. But then on the other side of things, Jefferson quarterback Andre Lopez threw his own interception. Angel Munoz snagged that pick on his end. He's got 2 total touchdowns. I'm talking about the senior standout, Angel Speedy Munoz for the Riverside Rangers, a 94-yard touchdown pass to Tristan Lopez, and also a 78-yard rushing score. So again, we got 3:09 left here in the third quarter. Riverside Rangers up 21-14 against the Jefferson Silver Foxes.
All right, Adrian, thank you very much. Probably not what we all thought about. Riverside can really put up a lot of points. Thought maybe they'd have a bigger lead in this one than just a touchdown lead.
Right, and they do have their big running back, Jose Guardado, back. Didn't have him a week ago against Burgess. Didn't need him. Got him tonight. Made some plays, but still nip and tuck. Jefferson, 2 legit playmakers in Roman Gomez, and, of course, the Rubio kid who just ran in one from 41 yards to close this thing from 21-7 to now 21-14 at Jeff. Those Fox fans got to be going crazy out there.
Absolutely. They're too legit to quit right now. Still just the third quarter. A lot to play. 21-14 Riverside over Jefferson. Hey, let's head out to Brandon Cone down at Eagle Stadium. The Andress Eagles looking for their first victory of the season, hosting the Del Valle Conquistadors. Brandon, take it away.
8:51 left here, third quarter. Del Valle 24-7 over Andress. Quarterback Jesse Ramos has 2 rushing touchdowns. Just scored on a 47-yard rush TD for Del Valle to put them up 24-7. Biggest play of the first half was the defensive end Josh Torres for Del Valle, sacking Eagles quarterback Elias Duncan and then taking it 77 yards for the fumble recovery for the touchdown. Worth noting, Andress without their star running back, Army commit Malcolm Anderson for the second straight week with a high ankle sprain. Coach Chris Taylor says he probably won't be back for a couple weeks until district play begins. 8:16 left, third quarter. It's all Del Valle, 24-7 over Andress.
All right, Iceman, Brandon Cone, thank you so much for that update. Let's out to the coach, Jaime Chavez, at Austin's R.E. McKee Stadium. Boy, Austin with an uphill battle, looking for their first victory of the season, hosting the Canutillo Eagles. And running back L.J. Martin. Seems to be the L.J. Martin show. Coach, take it away.
6:42 left in the fourth quarter. It is all Canutillo. Canutillo 35 and Austin nothing. Canutillo running back L.J. Martin shining tonight. He's got a pair of touchdown runs of 43 and 5 yards. He also caught a 35-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Jeremiah Knox. Tonight, Martin, 185 yards rushing on 17 carries. He's now over 500 yards rushing thus far on the season. 6:42 left in the fourth quarter at Austin's R.E. McKee. It's all Canutillo. Canutillo 35, Austin nothing.
All right, Coach, thank you so much for that update. Paul, bring in here L.J. Martin. Once that Canutillo Eagle offense starts going, boy, they are hard to bring down, especially when L.J. Martin's got his good feet under him.
Yeah, it took him a week to get going. Remember, Pebble Hill shut him out week 1, but back to the old Canutillo ever since. You got the best player on the field now, L.J. Martin, and he makes an impact every week. And we're seeing, as we saw at the tagging of last season, not only on the ground, but again, another touchdown reception tonight. He's a weapon all over the place. That's got to feel good for the young quarterback Knox to throw himself a TD to the big guy.
Absolutely. Canutillo offense starting to get pretty consistent. Scored 36 last week in a 36-20 victory over Coronado. They're up 35-0 tonight over Austin. Thank you, Coach Chavez. We'll have an update from Jaime Chavez in just a little bit. And speaking of home teams looking for their first victory following Andress and Austin, let's go out to Burgess Mustang Stadium, though. Winless Burgess Mustangs hosting the Parkland Matadors. Again, Burgess, just like Austin and Andress, finding it hard tonight. Let's go out to Bill Kuhn for an update. Bill, take it away.
It is starting of the fourth quarter. It is Parkland Matadors 21, Burgess Mustangs 7. Parkland came out, scored a 49-yard touchdown by Fabian Cervantes for Parkland's first touchdown. It's been the Isaiah Beasley game tonight. First half, 16 carries, 130 yards. He got the second touchdown. Eric Ortiz, 15-yard romp for Parkland for their third touchdown. Burgess came out in the third quarter, only score 23 yards by Devin Mata. Catch is the only score that Burgess Mustang has had. So with 1 minute 45 seconds left in the fourth quarter, it is Parkland Matadors 21, Burgess Mustang 7.
All right, Bill, thank you so much. Parkland starting to find their offense. Remember, they just had a last-second field goal for a 9-7 victory over Austin last weekend. Parkland putting it together tonight, up 21-7 in the fourth quarter over the Burgess Mustangs at Mustang Stadium. Let's head out to Hanks Excalibur Stadium. This one is finally a home team with a ton of offense. The Excalibur Knights of Hanks High School taking it to the Irvin Rockets. Let's head out to David Guest with an update from Excalibur Stadium. David.
Hey, guys, out here at Hanks High School, and it has been Hanks, all Hanks in this first half. Hanks currently leads. We're still at halftime, 56-14. Hanks over the Irvin Rockets. The first two scores were from running back Xavier Johnson. Of course, Irvin had a score in between. Isaac Guerrero found wide receiver Jonathan Chires. But as I mentioned, Xavier Johnson, the first two scores for Hanks, they went up 14-7. Marcus Porras, quarterback for Hanks, has been spreading the ball around to his receivers. 3 touchdown passes from him to wide receivers Dominic Casillas, Eric Folkadal, and Abram Acosta. And then the Hanks defense has been putting in work too. 2 pick sixes off of Irvin quarterback Isaac Guerrero. Finding the end zone for Hanks was Andrew Castillo, and also later on, right before the end of the half, Christian Rodriguez with that second pick six. Hanks is up 56-14 at halftime here.
All right, David, thank you so much. Wow. All Hanks all the time. Hanks looking to prove to 2-1 on the season. Boy, they're coming back after a tough loss last week to the El Paso High Tigers. They very well could be looking at a 3-0 record right now. The Hanks Knights playing well tonight against the Irvin Rockets. Hey, this one a final doubt in Mountain View. Let's go to an update from Joey Panisi. Mountain View hosting Seminole. Joey, take it away.
Yes, it's a final out here at Mountain View High School. Seminole 60. Mountain View 21. I'll tell you what, Seminole has a wonderful quarterback, Blake Flowers. He tossed for 6 touchdowns, giving him 13 on the year. He connected with 5 different receivers, and get this, 42 completions and 54 tries for 411 yards. That's, of course, unofficial. Bright spot for Mountain View, though. Gilbert Gamboa had 20 carries, 175 yards, and 3 TDs. So, final score out here from from Mountain View High School. It's Seminole 60, Mountain View 21.
All right, Joey, thank you so much. Boy, really tough loss at Lobo Stadium for the Mountain View Lobos. We'll go back to Joey in just a little bit for a complete wrap-up because that game just ended. We also have a final out in Chaparral for the Lobo Stadium. Bel Air all over Chaparral, 53-0. That is a final. Bel Air improving to 3-0. They scored 33 points in the first quarter alone to run away with this one.
And that's a New Mexico game. You can see it kicked off at 7. It's done at 9. They do have the running clock out there, so 53, good for the running clock.
Maybe they should institute that at Excalibur Stadium. I don't know. All due respect to the Irvin Rockets, but it's a tough one tonight against the Hanks Knights. Hey, let's head out to J.D. Sursley down at the reservation. A tough slugfest between the Bowie Bears and the Isleta Indians. Isleta looking for their first victory of the season. Let's head to J.D. at Hutchins Stadium for an update. J.D.
Yeah, 7:30 left in the third quarter. Isleta definitely opening it up in the second half. The first half was, lackluster and dirty laundry all over the place. But with 2 Bowie fumbles to start the second half, Isleta is now over Bowie 27-7. On the ground and pound, Aris Gomez, Daniel Martinez, and Tommy Ringo scored the ground touchdowns, and then just a bit ago, Evan Martinez threw a beautiful dime to Adrian Martinez, 21 yards. The only touchdown from Bowie was Abraham Carrasco. Yeah, Bowie's 2 fumbles to start the half definitely changed the game, and then now Isleta 27, Bowie 7, 7:20 left in the third quarter.
All right, JD, thank you so much. Boy, Isleta really pulling away. This game tied at 7 in the second quarter, but 20 unanswered points for the Isleta Indians as they're looking to pull away from the Bowie Bears, 27-7 in the third quarter. Let's head out to Clint Lions Stadium. Russ Bannister out there with a call on Clint and Gadsden. Gadsden looking for their first victory of the season, but Clint playing well at home. Let's head out to Russ Bannister for an update on Clint and Gadsden. Russ.
Okay, we have 3:17 remaining in regulation play. It's Gadsden 21, Clint 12. Ryan Hernandez, a cornerback for Gadsden, intercepted, ran a ball back 50 yards, 55 yards for a touchdown, and it's kind of put the ball away. So Clint has the ball now, but they're down by 8, 9 points. So from Clint, we have with 2 minutes and 55 minutes remaining, 2 minutes and 55 seconds remaining, we have Gadsden Panthers 21 and the Clint Lions 12.
All right, Russ, thank you so much. A 9-point lead for the Gadsden Panthers over the Clint Lions. Looks like maybe a little bit insurmountable with just a couple minutes away. We'll get a final from Russ in just a little bit. Once again, 21-12, Gadsden over Clint.
And especially with that Clint offense, remember they're a bone, born and bred. As long as Roosevelt Martinez has been out there, they're a bone offense. You don't score in 3 plays in the bone. You pound it down the field. So a lot of clock coming off, even if Clint succeeds the remainder of the contest.
Looks like Gadsden will be victorious in that one. Again, we'll have an update from Russ Bannister in just a little bit. Let's head back out to Lobo Stadium at Mountain View and get a final wrap-up with Joey Panisi. Seminole victorious over the Mountain View Lobos, 60-21. Joey, take us away with your final wrap-up, please.
All right. Seminole took over the game and scored 18 unanswered points. And then with 4 minutes into the second quarter, Gilbert Gamboa capped a 47-yard drive and scored on a 2-yard dive, making it Seminole 18, Mountain View 7. Well, Seminole, I guess, got woken up again, and they immediately scored on a 40-yard pass the very next play after Mountain View had scored, and they scored again, and they raised it up to 25-7. Well, Mountain View, I guess, was trying to sneak another score in before going in, and Albert Dominguez was intercepted with 1:04 left in the game, and then the rains came. Seminole immediately scored on a 37-yard touchdown, putting the score at halftime 33-7. And it was totally Seminole after that. Let me just give you some numbers on this Blake. He's one of the top-rated quarterbacks in 4A in the state. He came in with 7, and he threw 6 tonight, giving him 13 for the year. He connected twice with Coiler Kramer, twice with Ryan McCormick, once with Hector Contreras, and once with Aiden Garibay. He also rushed one in on a quarterback draw from 7 yards out. He finished the night with 40 completions and 396 yards, 6 TDs. They pulled him out in the fourth quarter, and they put in Braden Gonzalez, their second-string quarterback, and they didn't miss a lick. He ran in from 37 yards out on a quarterback draw, and he also passed for a touchdown. So it was all Seminole tonight. And as I said earlier, Mountain View just couldn't get it together. They had 2 nice victories, scored a lot of points. People thought this would be an even game, but it really wasn't. Seminole dominated in every area of the game. But for Mountain View, Gilbert Gamboa battled all night long, 20 carries, 176 yards, and he scored 3 TDs. I thought it was very sportsman for Seminole coach Greg Painter. He pulled out his starters and let everybody play in that third quarter. They are now 2-1, and next week they host Andrews, and then Mountain View is 2-1 also, and they will travel to Irvin and play the Rockets at Irvin Stadium. So from Mountain View High School, final score, Seminole 60, Mountain View 21.
All right, Joey, thank you so much. 60-21, Seminole victorious over Mountain View. Both teams now 2-1 on the season. Hey, and Joey, thank you so much. Great job out there. We'll see you at our post-game get-together at Union Draft House on Sunland Park Drive. Let's convene to talk high school football. It's a locally owned draft house with 100 beers on tap, a great place to catch the game or talk sports with delicious food. Union Draft House on Sunland Park Drive in West El Paso. Some other score updates to let you know about. Riverside now jumping on top of Jefferson by 21, 35-14.
Yeah, Vince Serena, 62-yard fumble return, strip and recovery and run. Serena does it all. That coming from our Adrian Broad. It's 35-14 now, as you said, breaking up a close one between the undefeateds.
That's 14 unanswered points by the Riverside Rangers, currently lead Jefferson 35-14 in the fourth quarter. Also, Delvi pulling away from the Andress Eagles with 16 unanswered points. Delvi now leads it 30-7, this in the fourth quarter.
Archuleta, 42-yard run to open that one up. Delvi is really taking control after spotting Andress, a 7-0 lead.
And once again, a reminder, a final from Chaparral. Bel Air all over Chaparral, 53-0. That's a final. We're going to take a break, come back with much more here on Football Friday Night, right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night, right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. We have a final from R.E. McKee Stadium, Canutillo all over the Austin Panthers, shutting them out. 35-0. We'll have a wrap-up from Coach Jaime Chavez in just a little bit. Also, Delvi over Andress, 37-7. That in the fourth quarter. Riverside all over Jefferson, 35-14 in the fourth quarter. Eastlake shutting out El Dorado, 17-0 at halftime. Parkland over Burgess, 27-7. Hanks up 56-14 over Irvin at halftime. Mountain View falling to Seminole. This is a final 60-21. Also late in the second half, we have El Paso High leading Sanelli 19-14. Cathedral over Fabens 12-7 in the third quarter. This is a final from the land of enchantment. Centennial over Mayfield 49-13 the final. Pebble Hills earlier today topping Eastwood 40-22, and tonight at Chaparral, Bel Air topping the Lobos of Chaparral 53-0. In other action, Fort Stockton leading Horizon 25-3, and Rio Rancho leading Oregon Mountain 7-3 with a lightning delay. All right, let's head back out to Coach Jaime Chavez with a wrap-up of Canutillo and Austin, a big Eagles victory, 35-0. Coach, take it away.
As you said, both the finals out here at Austin's R.E. McKee Stadium, Canutillo 35, Austin nothing. L.J. Martin, the star running back for Canutillo, he had 2 touchdown runs of 43 and 5 yards, and he also caught a 35-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Jeremiah Knox. Knox also threw a 27-yard touchdown pass to Rene Huerta, and Martin had 13 carries, 185 yards rushing in 3 quarters of play tonight. And running back and his running mate, Anthony Ayala, he added a 57-yard touchdown run for Canutillo. Knox was 4 of 6, 139 yards passing, and 2 TDs, 6 carries, 52 yards rushing. Ayala, 70 carries and 70 yards and 5 carries. Canutillo's defense was stout tonight. They held the Austin running back, Jaden Wilson, to 45 yards on 12 carries, and they picked off Austin quarterback Irving Cortinas twice, which led directly to a pair of Canutillo scores. Canutillo now 2-1 on the season. A big matchup next week. They'll be at Del Valle. And Austin 0-3. They travel to Hanks next Friday. The final once again in Central El Paso at Austin's R.E. McKee Stadium. Canutillo 35, Austin nothing.
All right, Coach, great job. We'll see you over at Union Draft House on Sunland Park Drive for a post-game get-together. And Paul's talk about Canutillo finally starting to find their groove. 35-0, outstanding win tonight.
Yeah, against a good Austin team. I mean, Austin is 0-3, but as we talked about earlier, competitive, show up every week. A close loss, what was it, 18-15 week 1 to a good Fort Stockton team. And last week it came down to the final 2 seconds before Parkland field goaled them out, if that's a word, 10-9. So these guys have shown up, they've competed, but once they got in front of mighty Canutillo tonight, especially Canutillo is on the warpath ever since getting humbled by Pebble opening week 23 zip. Yeah, they're a tour de force now, especially amongst the 5A teams.
It's going to be a great one next week. Del Valle, Canutillo, an old 5A Region 2 or Division 2 game. That's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, let's head back out to Steve Escajeda. We do have a final from earlier today as Eastlake and El Dorado 17-0 at halftime. Steve pulling double duty and reporting on Pebble Hills and Eastwood 40-22. The Spartans all over the Troopers. Steve, take it away with a wrap-up of that game.
Well, yeah, you're right. Again, it was all Pebble Hills, 40-22 over the Eastwood Troopers. Pebble Hills 3-0 now on the season. More importantly, 1-0 in district play. And they were led by their quarterback, Gael Ochoa, 15 out of 21 through the air, 211 yards, 2 touchdown passes, and also had a touchdown run. And his favorite target tonight was Marcus Torres, 8 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. For the Eastwood Troopers, again, a kind of a really tough night for the quarterback, Evan Minjares. Last week, what do you have? 7 touchdown passes and 1 INT. Tonight, 1 touchdown, 4 picks on the night. He was 14 for 35 for 198 yards, although he did add a couple of touchdown runs. Jays Molden caught 3 passes for Eastwood for 38 yards and that 1 touchdown throw. So again, Pebble Hills, Eastwood, the first 2 times they had the ball, they just went up and down the field like nothing. After that, that defense settled down, and they just shut out Eastwood pretty much the rest of the way. Pebble Hills winning a big one, 40-22 tonight over Eastwood. In the second game, it's halftime here again at the SAC. Eastlake all over El Dorado, 17-0, and it's been Eastlake since the opening kickoff. El Dorado has not been able to do anything on offense. They've got that brother tandem, senior quarterback Quincy Estrada, little freshman brother Ryan Estrada. That's been their whole offense. So far, well, if you can call it much of an offense, the older brother, the quarterback, Quincy, 2 out of 8 through the air for just 7 yards. And running back Ryan Estrada, the freshman, averaging 159 yards on the ground so far in his first 2 games. Tonight, so far, 8 carries, 45 yards. For Eastlake, Luke Lomali, their talented young quarterback, 10 out of 18 through the air, 128 yards, and a touchdown pass. He's also run the ball for 47 yards and another score. And a good night by his 2 receivers. He's got 10 completions, 5 of them to Isai Perea for 77 yards, and 5 of them to Sam Matilano for 51 yards. So again, guys, from the beginning, it's been all Eastlake. El Dorado's got to get something going. Only 83 yards of total offense for them at halftime to Eastlake's 222. So it's halftime here at the SAC. Eastlake all over El Dorado, 17-0.
And Bo, back to that 4 o'clock game, talking about that Pebble Hills defense, they look for real. And I would think Canutillo's feeling a lot better about their first week shutout. But what Pebble Hills was able to do was take one of the best running teams in the city, I would say the best running team in 5A for sure, and shut that down. Today they get the most proficient passing attack in the city of El Paso. And while Eastwood puts 20 points on the board, whippy for that, 4 takeaways, 4 interceptions, and I would say none bigger than Eastwood's second possession. 7-7 game. Eastwood had scored on their first drive. Easy TD pass down the field, down to the 5-yard line. End zone interception, turned to momentum, and it was all Pebble Hills from there. So they shut down the best running team. They've shut down the best passing team. I think we can take a pretty educated guess now that Pebble Hills defense is pretty darn good.
Sure, and they're playing like it. And next week, a battle of Far East rivals, El Dorado and Pebble Hills on a Thursday night. That's sure to be a fun one. Hey, let's head out to Silver Fox Stadium, get an update on Jefferson and Riverside. 2 teams undefeated, but looks like the Riverside Rangers are pulling away from this one. Let's head out to Adrian Broadus with an update. Adrian.
3:42 left here in the ball game out of Jefferson Silver Fox Stadium. The Riverside Rangers now go up 42-14. A little bit of hot action here as Riverside quarterback Angel Speedy Munoz carried the ball in for a 36-yard rushing touchdown for his 3rd touchdown tonight. 2nd rushing touchdown from him. Remember, he had that one earlier today from 78 yards out. Angel Munoz on the ground, 6 carries, 145 rushing yards on the ground, and then through the air, 6 of 9 for 139, a touchdown and an interception, but he caught an interception on defense. Angel Munoz, just kind of the do-it-all player for the Riverside Rangers. Also, big shout-out to running back Jose Guardado. He didn't play last week for an undisclosed reason, but he has 13 carries, 107 rushing yards tonight. He has a receiving touchdown from 53 yards from backup quarterback Ian Montillon, and that one was from earlier today. On the Jefferson side of things, they're led by Miguel Rubio, 24 carries, 171 rushing yards, and a touchdown from 41 yards out. But this one is all but over, guys. Jefferson down big in this one. They had multiple opportunities. They could not capitalize on different plays from Riverside. Then again, we've got 3:42 left in the ball game. Riverside up 42-14 against Jefferson.
Oh, those Riverside Rangers can put up points and can put up points in bunches, and that's what they're showing in the second half.
Yeah, what I would take from this, though, is Jefferson at one point was only down 21-14 in this one after the long Rubio TD run. And I'm looking at that district what is it these days? They changed this year it's 1-5A Division II, Burgess, Andress, those teams, Canutillo. Jefferson in the playoffs last year graduated a lot of folks, but that fourth and maybe even the third, depending on the way Chapin is playing. And you know what? Andress is getting smoked tonight as well. So maybe outside of Canutillo, that district wide open. But Burgess, a team that's been in the playoffs for 7 years in a row, I think they're going to have to fight their keisters off to make it for an 8th season, because you got teams like Jefferson nipping at their heels. Jefferson could be a playoff team back-to-back years. Who knows the last time that happened for the Silver Foxes. Good for them. Good for head coach Tony Martinez. El Paso High, 2-0 going into tonight. They lost their quarterback, Jerry Chidas, last week. I believe he is not playing tonight, as you see them out struggling with Sanelli a bit. But, those playoff spots could really be up for grabs. Chapin was a district winner last year, and they've struggled out of the box as well. So that could be a fun district. I'm not sure anybody knows outside of Canutillo, and you'd like to think Andress once Malcolm Anderson comes back and is healthy and making plays. But the rest of it might be a crapshoot.
Absolutely. Going to be wide open, going to be fun to watch. Hey, let's head out to Andress Eagle Stadium. Just talking about those Andress Eagles. A really tough night tonight against the Del Valle Conquistadors. Let's head out to the Iceman, Brandon Cohn, with an update from Alan Sepkowitz Stadium on Del Valle and Andress. Brandon.
10:02 left in this contest. Del Valle is blowing it open, 44-7 over Andress. It's been a tremendous half for Del Valle at the 4:51 mark of the third quarter. Their running back, Juan Archuleta, scoring on a 42-yard touchdown. PAT was no good, making the score Del Valle 30-7 over Andress. And at the 2:13 mark of the third quarter, Del Valle continues to be relentless as their quarterback, Ramos, finds his wideout, Eli Molina, for a 25-yard touchdown. The PAT was good there, making the score 37-7, Del Valle over Andress. And just here at the 10-12 mark of the fourth quarter, the scoring frenzy continues as Del Valle quarterback Ramos, a 48-yard touchdown to his wideout, Jonathan Estrada, a very versatile offense, spreading it around all over the field. And keep in mind, Del Valle without one of their stud wideouts, Damian Diaz, who's out with a dislocated shoulder. Coach Contreras said prior to the game he's looking to hopefully come back by next week. Look out, everybody. 10:03 left here in this game. Del Valle 44-7 over Andress.
All right, Iceman, thank you so much, boy. All Del Valle all night long at Alan Sepkowitz Stadium. Boy, looking well. 44-7 late in the fourth quarter. Let's head out to Bill Kuhn, the Burgess Mustangs hosting the Parkland Matadors. This one has been all Matadors all night long as well. Let's head out to Bill Kuhn for an update from Mustang Stadium. Bill.
The quickest game of the night, it is over here at Burgess Stadium. It is Parkland Matadors 27, Burgess Mustangs 7. Burgess came out in the second half, throwing the ball, scored the touchdown. They had a huge 4th and 50 drive. Fourth and 10 drive down the field. Fake punt by Alex Herrera, their punter, and he runs it down to the 4-yard line of Parkland. But next play was a fumble by the quarterback, turns the ball over, took the wind out of the sails completely Burgess. So with the game over with here at Mustang Stadium, it is Parkland 27, Burgess 7.
All right, Bill, great job tonight. Nice job from Mustang Stadium. We'll see you over at Union Draft House on Sunland Park. Thank you for that wrap-up as Parkland improves to 2-1. Burgess falling to 0-3. And, Paul, you were just talking about in that 5A Division II, there's Burgess at 0-2, Andrus potentially 0-3. I'm sorry, Burgess 0-3. Jefferson right there, El Paso High. It's going to be a crapshoot for those last two playoff spots.
Yeah, I think it really is. Every week's a new story, but Malcolm Anderson coming back for Andrus. I mean, I still have faith in them, though. Delphi is a good team. Andrus should not be getting thumped the way they're getting thumped tonight. Delphi the favorite in this, but maybe 2 or 3 scores. This one's way too easy.
It'll be a fun one next week. Parkland and Chapin. We'll really get to see what these two teams are made of. Parkland and Chapin next week at Parkland High School in the Bull Ring. Hey, let's head out to David Guest. Boy, this one has been all Hanks all night long. Let's see if they put another 2-3 touchdowns on the board. Let's head out to David Guest. Hanks hosting Irvin. David, what's the update there?
Yeah, so I'm looking at Hanks receiver Dominic Casillas running down the field towards the end zone. It would be the first score for Hanks. It's currently 56-14 as the fourth quarter has just begun, so no scores yet in the second half for Hanks. But, man, redemption game for them after a 33-39 loss last week to El Paso. They have scored in a variety of ways in this first half. 3 touchdown scores through the air for Marcus Porras, 2 on the ground for running back Xavier Johnson, 2 pick sixes from the defense, and a kickoff touchdown return for wide receiver Jude Blanco. As I mentioned, Hanks has been scoring at will, though. Irving quarterback Isaac Guerrero did find his favorite receiver, Jonathan Tyrez, early and Calais Briones for 2 scores, but his 2 interceptions were painfully costly as they resulted in 15 points for Hanks, and Irvin has struggled to get anything going since. As I mentioned, 56-14 here in the fourth quarter, all Hanks.
All right, David, thank you so much. Boy, all Hanks all night long over there at Excalibur Stadium. Boy, I'm sure they're enjoying that after several years of really tough football play over there at Excalibur Stadium. Let's head to J.D. Sursley. But what looked like a huge Isleta victory, but here come the Bowie Bears. Let's head out to the reservation. Isleta hosting Bowie. Let's get an update from J.D. Sursley. J.D.
All right, 11:51 left in the fourth quarter, just beginning. Bowie is clawing its way back, 27-20 after a great methodical drive, run, pass, run. Gael Barrera with a beautiful 14-yard dime to Antonio Antiveros for the touchdown. The very next drive, Isleta fumbles, beautiful gift for Bowie all the way down to the goal line, and then they score again. So Joe Rodriguez scored that touchdown. So now it is 27-20. Isleta is driving, but a few penalties have pushed them back. 11:41 left in the fourth, 27-20 now.
Thank you very much, JD. What an exciting game there at Isleta's Hutchins Stadium between the Isleta Indians and the Bowie Bears. Hey, we have a final at Clint's Lions Stadium. The Gadsden Panthers come in and take down the Clint Lions. Let's get a final wrap-up from Russ Bannister. Russ.
Yes, at Clint, the stadium's empty and the hearts of Gadsden fans are full. It's their first victory. They're 1-3 now. For Gadsden, their multi-purpose quarterback, Tomas Herrera, had an outstanding night. He had 101 yards on the through the air. He had 86 on the ground. And total offense for Gadsden has come alive tonight. They had a 242-yard total offense. Where Clint, what was surprising, they only had 145 yards. But it was not so much defense tonight. It was fumbling and penalties on both sides. Clint turned the ball inside the 5-yard line twice. Gadsden turned it inside the 5-yard once, and these are on fumbles, so it really hurt both teams tonight. Next week, Clint travels to Bel Air, the Highland Stadium, and Gadsden travels. They travel to Las Cruces. They'll play in the Field of Dreams and play at Oregon Mountain. So from Clint Stadium, the final score, 21 Gadsden, 12 for Clint Lions.
All right, Russ, thank you so much. Great job out there. We'll see you at our post-game get-together at Union Draft House on Sunland Park. We also have a final from Jefferson Silver Fox Stadium. The Riverside Rangers proven victorious tonight. Let's get an update and a final wrap-up with Adrian Broadus. Adrian.
That's right. We got a final score out here at Silver Fox Stadium. The Riverside Rangers finish it. They win 42-14 against the Jefferson Silver Foxes to improve to undefeated 3-0 on the season. Give a lot of credit to standout quarterback, the all-around guy, Angel Speedy Munoz for the Riverside Rangers. 6 of 9 through the air, 139 passing yards. He had a touchdown. He threw an interception. He caught an interception on defense. And then on the ground today, 6 carries for 145 rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns for the standout senior for the Riverside Rangers. I also really like the play from running back Jose Guardado for Riverside tonight. 14 carries, 112 rushing yards, and he had a touchdown reception from 53 yards out tonight. Just an all-around great effort by the defense from the Riverside Rangers. They stopped Jefferson 4 different times while the Silver Foxes were driving inside Riverside territory, including grabbing away a turnover, and this is credited for middle linebacker Vincent Serena. He had a 62-yard fumble recovery, a strip and score for the middle linebacker. On the Jefferson side of things, they were led by running back Miguel Rubio, 25 carries, 178 yards on the ground, a 41-yard rushing touchdown for him. Through the air, Andre Lopez kind of struggled today, 4 of 12, 37 passing yards, and an interception for the Silver Foxes. Up next, Jefferson going up against Bowie out at the Sun Bowl next week, and then Riverside will travel to Alamogordo, and that will be their game to try to keep their unbeaten streak alive. So again, we've got a final out here at Silver Fox Stadium. It's the Riverside Rangers 42 and the Jefferson Silver Foxes 14.
And Bo, this just in from J.D. Sursley, that Sleta Bowie game. Aroth Gomez, second touchdown of the night, 9-yard run, boost that lead to 34-20, a Sleta over Bowie.
All right, Isleta starting to pull away there late in the fourth quarter, but what a tight game there. Isleta allowing Bowie to come back in that one. Remember, Isleta up by 20 in the third quarter, but now back up by 14, 34-20. We're going to take a break, get to our Oscar Arieta Agency local scoreboard. You're listening to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. I'm Bo Bagley alongside Paul McKinnon and producer Angel Munoz. Hey, let's get to our local scoreboard brought to you by the Oscar Arieta Agency. From a locally owned insurance agency, the Oscar Arieta Agency is proud to serve El Paso. With 7 locations from the west side to Fabens, the Oscar Arieta Agency can help with your home, auto, and life insurance. Oscar Arieta is the official insurance agent of the UTEP Miners. Visit Rise Up 915 to learn more about prizes and giveaways for the Oscar Arieta Agency. Let's go to our scoreboard. Currently in our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Eastlake leading El Dorado 17-0 in the third quarter. Riverside all over Jefferson 42-14. That's a final. Del Valle up on Andress this late in the fourth quarter. Del Valle up 44-7. This a final at Austin's R.E. McKee Stadium. Canutillo all over Austin 35-0. A final out at Mustang Stadium. Parkland over Burgess, 27-7. Hanks all over Irvin right now. This in the fourth quarter. It's now 63-14. Hanks over Irvin. We have a final at Mountain View's Lobo Stadium, 60-21. Seminoles victors over Mountain View. Also, other scores, we have right now a slugfest between Isleta and Bowie at the reservation. Isleta leading Bowie 34-20 in the fourth quarter. And a final at Clint Lions Stadium, 21-12. Gadsden all over Clint. Earlier today, Pebble Hills over Eastwood 40-22. And up in Chaparral, Bel Air over Chaparral 53-0. Fort Stockton over Horizon 31-3. That's a final. Currently, Oregon Mountain leads Rio Rancho up in Albuquerque 10-7 at halftime. Santa Teresa all over Cobre. This is a final. 42-6. Santa Teresa improves to 2-2. Also, Centennial all over Mayfield, a final 49-13. In a slugfest at Wildcat Stadium, Anthony leading Hatch 33-0. Other action at Canutillo High School, Cathedral leading Fabens 12-7 in the third, and El Paso High, Oliver Sinelli 33-14.
And Sletta, Daniel Martinez strikes one more time, 55 yards down the sideline. Sletta looking to put this one in the W column. They now lead Bowie 41-20 out at the reservation.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. Let's head out to our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Get an update on El Dorado and Eastlake with Steve Escajeda. Steve.
Well, we've got 10 minutes and 10 seconds here to go in the third quarter. And, of course, it's still Eastlake 17 and El Dorado nothing. Like you said at halftime, it's been the Luke O'Malley show for Eastlake. The quarterback for the Falcons, 10 out of 18 in that first half for 128 yards and a touchdown pass. Also 47 yards on the ground and another score for the Falcons. For El Dorado, again, the goalie's been really tough tonight. 83 total yards. Right now they've got the ball here in the second half. They just passed midfield. So trying to get something down. They're looking at a 3rd and 2 from the 48-yard line of Eastlake. And again, this drive is going to be really important to see if they can get themselves back in the ball game before they fall any further. And just something else between these two teams. The last 4 times these two teams have met, I mean, Eastlake has dominated the series, beating El Dorado all 4 times by an average score of 36-11. And tonight we're getting pretty much more of the same thing. It looked like maybe El Dorado starting 2-0 on the season. Maybe we might be able to turn the corner this year, but so far it's been more of the same. 8:58 now to go in the third quarter. It's Eastlake 17, El Dorado nothing.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. All right, Steve, thank you so much. In our 915 Tours Game of the Week, Eastlake leading El Dorado 17-0. 915 Tours, a division of Classic Elegance Coaches, is providing the best travel packages from El Paso to Dallas for Cowboys home games. Now, remember, you get packages include a round-trip travel, hotel stay in Dallas, an ultimate fan experience, meet and greet with the players, and, of course, your ticket to watch the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday, the home game against the Bucs. That's sure to be a fun one. Hey, let's head out to Brandon Cone at Andrus Allen Sepkowitz Stadium. Get an update because this one's been all Del Valle all night long. Iceman, take it away.
1:45 remaining in this contest, and Del Valle still with a commanding 44-7 lead over Andrus. Andrus in garbage time, knocking on the door at about the 3-yard line, probably going to get a late score. But it's been all Del Valle. What a tremendous second half for the Conquistadores. Their quarterback, Ramos, 14 of 20 so far in this game, 231 yards, 4 touchdowns. It's all but a thing here. Almost put a bow on it, almost a cherry on top. 1:20 to go in this contest. Tick, tick, tick. Del Valle 44-7 over Andrus.
All right, Brandon, thank you so much. And once again, Del Valle and Canutillo looming next week. Del Valle prepping for that one. No injuries, of course. We don't want any injuries all over the borderland, but of course they're putting in the reserves, getting ready for Canutillo next weekend because this one all Del Valle. Hey, let's head out to Hanks Excalibur Stadium. I hear Hanks has a 70 spot up on the Irvin Rockets. Let's head out to David Guest for an update. David.
That's right. Just about everything has gone right for the Hanks Knights tonight. The only thing just about that's gone wrong for them, star running back Xavier Johnson is out of the game after 2 early scores and coming off of back-to-back 200-yard games. He's been out since the first quarter, and he's been replaced by backup running back Ruben Laguna. Hanks has had 2 scores so far recently in the second half, and they lead 70-14. Those 2 scores coming from wide receivers Dominic Casilla and most recently wide receiver Jude Blanco, his second touchdown of the night. Backup quarterback Vita Gay now in for the Hanks Knights. 70-14. 4 minutes and 45 seconds left to go.
All right, David, thank you so much. I'm sure by the next time we talk to you, we'll get a wrap-up from that game there. 70-14, the Hanks Knights over the Irvin Rockets late in the fourth quarter. Speaking of late in the fourth quarter, a surge by the Isleta Indians over the Bowie Bears. Now remember, Isleta just led by a touchdown with 11 minutes to go in this game, but boy, 2 unanswered touchdowns, and Isleta is pulled away by 21 points. Let's get an update from J.D. Sursley as Isleta hosting Bowie. J.D.
Yeah, 9:02 left in the fourth quarter. Isleta 41, Bowie 20. Yeah, the Bears were clawing back, but the Indians said, "Oh no, we're stopping you right there." Eric Gomez 9-yard touchdown right after we got off, and then after the very next drive, Daniel Martinez with a 55-yard run sweep just right up the right side of the hash, and now 41-20, 8:53 left, Bowie driving.
All right, JD, thank you so much. We'll get an update there because it looks like it's Isleta tonight looking for their first victory of the season over the Bowie Bears. Remember, visit 600ESPNElPaso.com for recaps, photos by Prep One, and final scores for Football Friday Night. Make sure to subscribe to the Football Friday Night On Demand for the replay of each show. Football Friday Night On Demand is available wherever you get your podcasts. Football Friday Night will take a quick break. We'll have our local scoreboard brought to you by Oscar Audietta Agency. Then our out-of-town scoreboard brought to you by Longhorn Distributing. You're listening to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. We have a final from Andrus Allen Sepkowitz Stadium. 44-7, Del Valle all over Andrus. We'll hear from the Iceman, Brandon Cohn, in just a little bit. First, let's get you some scores all over the borderland, brought to you by Oscar Audietta Agency. From a locally owned insurance agency, the Oscar Audietta Agency is proud to serve El Paso with 7 locations from the west side to Fabens. Okay, in our 915 Tours game of the week, Eastlake up on El Dorado, 17-0 in the third quarter. It's a final Riverside over Jefferson, 42-14. It's a final at Allen Sepkowitz Stadium, 44-7, Del Valle over Andrus. Canutillo all over Austin, 35-0 the final. Parkland defeats Burgess 27-7. Hanks, this currently in the fourth quarter, Hanks has put up 70. Hanks is up on Irvin 70-14. Seminole all over Mountain View 60-21. Isleta topping Bowie right now, this game in the fourth quarter, 41-20. And Gadsden all over Clint, 21-12. In Thursday night's action, Americus defeated Montwood 40-37. And Franklin topped Coronado 57-23. That's the Cougars' 5th straight victory in the Westside Bowl over Coronado. Earlier today, Pebble Hills topped Eastwood 40-22 the final. Last check in the fourth quarter, the El Paso High Tigers lead the San Eli Eagles 33-14. Cathedral leading Fabens in the third quarter 12-7. Bel Air topping Chaparral. This is a final 53-0. Fort Stockton all over Horizon 31-3 the final. Centennial all over Mayfield in the Land of Enchantment 49-13. Centennial improves to 3-1. In other action, Oregon Mountain leads Rio Rancho 10-7 at halftime. Santa Teresa defeats Cobre 42-6. That's a final. And at last check, Anthony leads Hatch Valley in the fourth quarter 33-30. Now let's head out to our Longhorn Distributing out-of-town scoreboard with Paul McKinnon. Paul.
And some interesting action throughout mostly Central Texas. Let's always start where we do with the big boys in 6A. Midland Legacy gets back in the W column, 56-20. They host and play poor hosts as they take care of Abilene, as I said, 56-20. Look at this one. Permian and Tascosa, man, they always give it to each other. Doesn't matter that Tascosa no longer in 6A. 13-12, the Mojo squeak by a one-pointer defensive struggle as the O had to go for somebody in this one. Tascosa falls to 2-1. Permian now moves to 3-0 as they look to claim that District 2-6A title. Abilene Cooper and San Angelo Central, 5A versus 6A again. This one in OT, Abilene Cooper, last we checked, 41-38, 0-2 Abilene Cooper, Central 1-1. Central, like the old gray mare, not what she used to be, but looking to squeak one out against Cooper, as I said, trailing in overtime. Elsewhere, Keller destroys Odessa in a battle of 2-0 teams, 50-21. Odessa falls to 2-1. And Amarillo, wow, 0-2 takes down 2-0 Midland. Midland not the strongest of a non-district schedule, but Amarillo comes through at Midland, 27-8. They win that one, get their first W of the year. And Wichita Falls Rider hosting Lubbock Coronado, a good one, but the team that wins won again. Wichita Falls Rider moves to 3-0, 28-24 in a tough contest. And Caprock shuts out 4A Pampa 20-0. The 2s and the O's go wild as 2-0 Pampa, 2-0 Caprock loses 2-0. 20-0 Caprock beats Pampa, and that is your Longhorn Distributing out-of-town scoreboard.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. Longhorn Distributing, the only hot seat dealer in West Texas and southern New Mexico, your source for cleaning equipment, service, and supplies. Longhorn Distributing, 5516 East Paisano Drive in El Paso. And we have a score update. It's a final at Andrus Allen Sepkowitz Stadium. I was wrong. Let's get an update. 44-13, Del Valle victorious over the Andrus Eagles. For the final wrap-up, let's go to the Iceman, Brandon Cohn. Brandon.
We have a final here at Allen Sepkowitz Stadium. Del Valle 44-13 over Andrus. The Conquistadores moved to 2-1 on the year. Great game next week at home against Cañetillo on the 16th of September. Next up for them, quarterback Jesse Ramos, stellar evening, 14 of 20, 231 yards, 4 total touchdowns, 2 through the air, 2 on the ground, had 6 carries for 64 yards. Running back Juan Archuleta, 7 carries, 64 yards at TD. Wideout Eli Molina, the star through the air, 4 receptions, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. Wideout Jonathan Estrada, a touchdown reception. And the defensive player of the game by far, in my opinion, Josh Torres at 77 yards. TD scored in the first quarter on the sack, strip fumble recovery for the long touchdown. Beautiful play on their part. Andrus falling to 0-3 on the year. Next, they will be at Horizon. Their quarterback, Elias Duncan, 5 of 18, 43 yards, 1 touchdown. Did have 21 rushes, 67 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground. Running back Marcus Wilson, 12 carries, 49 yards. Also, other running back Dominic Nava scored a TD late. And wide out Isaiah Owens, 2 receptions, 29 yards, 1 TD. And this kid, used to struggle without their star running back Malcolm Anderson out the last 2 weeks with a high ankle sprain, looking like he'll be out at least 1 to 2 more weeks. It's a final here at Allen Sepkowitz Stadium. Del Valle, they win this one, 44-13.
All right, Brandon, thank you so much. Great job tonight. We'll see you at our post-game wrap-up party over at the Union Draft House on Sunland Park Drive. Del Valle improving to 2-1, 44-13 victors over the Andrus Eagles. We also have a final. Cathedral pulling off potentially the upset over Fabens. Cathedral defeats Fabens 12-7 at Cañetillo High School. Both teams 2-1 on the season. A very big win for the Cathedral Fighting Irish. And Cathedral travels to Anthony next week. That should be a fun one. Anthony holding on to just a slim 33-30 lead. That game late in the fourth quarter.
And I think they're just about a stone's throw from Anthony tonight anyway, out at Lowenberg Stadium. I tell you what, that kind of success out of Cañetillo on the Smurf turf, they may not want to ever give it up.
Absolutely. We'll see 12-7 Cathedral victors over the Fabens Wildcats. In other action in the fourth quarter, El Paso increasing their lead over San Elizario. El Paso High up 45-14. El Paso High looking to improve to 3-0 on the young season. Can you believe that?
And we talked about that crazy District 1-5A Division II, all those teams fighting for 6 teams, and, they're all in the playoff hunt. I mean, District hasn't even started. Of course they are. But, you could make a case for every single one of those guys, and you could make a case for almost every single one of those guys outside of Cañetillo not making the playoffs at all. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. A couple of weeks away still till that district gets rolling.
And other action up in the Land of Enchantment up in Albuquerque. In the third quarter, Rio Rancho now taking the lead over Oregon Mountain. Rio Rancho up 20-10 in the third quarter over the Oregon Mountain Knights. Hey, let's head back out to David Guest, Hanks Knights, and the Irvin Rockets. Oh, let's head out to actually Steve Escajeda, our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Steve Escajeda has Eastlake hosting El Dorado. Steve, what's the update?
Well, we've got 3:22 left to go in the third quarter, and nothing has changed. It's still Eastlake 17, El Dorado nothing. And when I say nothing has changed, I mean nothing has changed. No team has done anything here in the third quarter. They're moving it between the 40s, I think, to each other, and they're having a punt fest so far. So both teams struggling all night long. It's almost, we can call this almost the quicksand bowl. I mean, nobody can get their footing really, especially El Dorado. I mean, Quincy Estrada, the quarterback, having a really tough night. 2 out of 12 throwing the ball for 7 yards. That's it. In fact, they've only got 92 total yards in the ball game. We said earlier that it was a Luke Lumali show, and it still is. 12 out of 21 passing for 147 yards and a touchdown. He's also running for 65 yards now and another score. And his favorite target, Isai Perea, 6 catches, 88 yards, and 1 touchdown. So again, I wish I could tell you more, but nothing's going on. We've got 3:02, 3:01 to go here in the third on homecoming night for East Lake. They lead El Dorado 17-0.
All right, Steve, nice job out there. Get yourself some stadium nachos over there at the SAC. Kick back, put your feet up. But at least you're watching some football and fun. East Lake, again, 17-0 over the El Dorado Aztecs in the third quarter. We heard there's another touchdown at the Hanks Knights Irvin Rockets game at Excalibur Stadium. Will it be the Hanks Knights? Could they get to 80? Let's head out to David Guest for an update. David.
Yeah, it's not the Hanks Knights. They will not get to 80 tonight. We just went final here at Hanks High School. Hanks are victorious 70-21 the final. Irvin did just score right before the end of the game with 30 seconds left. Wide receiver Jonathan Tyrez scored his second touchdown of the game from quarterback Isaac Guerrero. The damage was done in the first half by Hanks. Hanks offense, I mentioned, 3 touchdown passes from quarterback Marcus Porras, 2 from running back Xavier Johnson, 2 pick sixes, a kickoff touchdown return for Jude Blanco. He later had a touchdown score, the last for Hanks. That put them up 70-14. Again, I mentioned 70-21 the final. And I just want to close with some good news here. El Paso football fans, I'm sure you remember the leading receiver, the all-time leading El Paso receiver, Michael Blanco, the older brother of Jude Blanco, who scored 2 touchdowns tonight. He tells me he's coming back to the land of the 915 and to play football for the UTEP Miners. He's going to be starting in January, he says. Just wanted to put that good news in there. And final here, again, Hanks, 70-21 over Irvin.
David, great job. Thank you so much. And great job out there at Excalibur Stadium. What an exciting game there between Hanks Knights and Irvin Rockets, and great tidbit there on Michael Blanco. We had so much fun watching Michael Blanco as a receiver for the Hanks Knights over the years, and great to hear that he'll be potentially playing for the UTEP Miners in the future.
And, of course, little brother Jude had a pretty good night himself, along with last week, I think almost a couple of 100 yards receiving. So, like big brother, little brother, taken right after him.
Absolutely. Well, David, great job out there. Go enjoy some 91 points out there at Excalibur Stadium. We'll go enjoy some chicken quesadillas over at Union Draft House on Sunland Park Drive. Union Draft House. 100 beers on tap, a great place to catch the game or talk some sports with delicious food. Once again, Union Draft House on Sunland Park, our home for our post-game get-together. Let's head out to J.D. Sursley at Isleta Stadium. Isleta hosting Bowie. Now we have another touchdown. Bowie still hanging in there within striking distance. Let's get an update from J.D. Sursley. J.D.
3:24 left in the fourth quarter. Yes, you are correct, Mr. Bagley. Bowie was hanging in there. They scored again, so it was 41, Isleta 26, Bowie. Unfortunately, Bowie just fumbled, so they just gave the ball right back to Isleta. Juan Corral was the last person to score for Bowie, so to make it 26. There's been more laundry than a laundromat here in this game. That's why it's been so long. It's flag after flag and then fumble after fumble. So luckily, Isleta has 41, but that's only because the fumbles were inside pretty much the goal line. 41, Isleta, Bowie 26, 3:23 left in the fourth quarter.
Fumble after fumble, flag after flag, and wine after wine, J.D. Sursley.
Great job, JD. Thank you so much. It looks like Isleta is going to pull away with this one after the Bowie fumble. Hey, we also have a final at San Eli's Eagle Stadium. The El Paso High Tigers improved to 3-0, defeating San Eli 45-14. That is a final. And what do the El Paso High Tigers get next week? Well, they get a bye. So what a way to go into the bye week at 3-0, really playing well. That crucial 4th and 6 last week that really had everybody on the edge of their seat from your own 6-yard line.
Oh, my goodness.
And really, the El Paso High Tigers have to be one of the more impressive teams at 3-0 to start this season this year.
Yeah, go back to that call though. Gutsiest call. I still say insane. Take the safety, get the free kick from the 20. You still got a 4-point lead with about a minute left to protect. They still got to score a touchdown. Crazy. Remember, not the head coach, no Aguilar at the seat. That was the assistant. So we'll pin that one on him. It worked, so he's a genius. But takes my place in the pantheon of gutsiest calls I've ever seen. Tom Work's first year at Riverside. They're playing Pecos. I think it's game 3. And I think it's one of those where he's pushing his philosophy of we don't play for ties around here. I'm assuming 4th down and 19 from his own 31-yard line. 58 seconds left in the game. Tom Work decides we're going to go for it. Throw a little seam route. I want to say the guy's name was Demetrius Spratley, but it was a tight end, Spradlin, something like that. He catches the ball. Corner hits him. Safety hits him simultaneously, different sides. Squirts through, off for a 69-yard touchdown. Riverside wins. As I said, that play for me stood alone in the, 30 years I've been watching high school football, and that has finally been surpassed by 39-33, we lead. It's 4th down on our own 6-yard line. Let's run the ball. Yeah. And it works, and they win.
There you go.
Holy smokes.
That sounds like Tom Work right there in a nutshell. Hey, we have a final out at Anthony's Wildcat Stadium in a battle of unbeatens with Hatch Valley. It's Hatch Valley with 23 points in the 4th quarter and a last-second touchdown. Hatch Valley tops Anthony 37-33. Big win for Hatch Valley. They improved to 3-0-1, while Anthony falls to 2-1. We're going to take a break. We want to remind you, to all you senior high school football players out there, you must have your SAT, ACT results submitted by December 1st to be eligible for the Greater El Paso Football Showcase Combine and the All-Star Game. Go to 915showcase.com and our social media to see weekly top 5 performers, scores, and stats of teams and players, and more. Once again, 915showcase.com for all your Greater El Paso Football Showcase information. We're going to take a break. Football Friday Night will return in just a moment. You're listening to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. We have final scores all over the borderlands, some games still in action in our 915 Tours Game of the Week. The East Lake Falcons and the El Dorado Aztecs. Well, the Aztecs finally get a field goal on the board. It's now 17-3. East Lake leads. This at the start of the fourth quarter. We'll head back out to Steve Escajeda in just a moment. First off, other 6A games from Thursday night. Americus tops Montwood 40-37, and Franklin topping Coronado 57-23. Earlier today, Pebble Hills all over Eastwood 40-22. And once again in our 915 Tours Game of the Week, East Lake leading El Dorado in the fourth quarter 17-3. In other action, Riverside all over Jeff 42-14. Del Valle all over Andrus is the final 44-13. Canutillo shuts out Austin High School 35-0. Parkland topping Burgess 27-7. Hanks putting up 70 on the Irvin Rockets. Hanks improving to 2-1 with a 70-21 victory over the Irvin Rockets. Elsewhere, El Paso High picking up a 45-14 victory over San Elizario. Bel Air all over Chaparral 53-0. Fort Stockton topping Horizon 31-3. And Seminole topping Mountain View in 4A 60-21. Elsewhere, Cathedral pulls out a squeaker at Canutillo High School, taking on Fabens Wildcats. Cathedral victors over the Wildcats 12-7. Up in the land of enchantment, Centennial topping Mayfield 49-13. Oregon Mountain trails Rio Rancho this game in the fourth quarter. It's Rio Rancho 20, Oregon Mountain 10. Once again, that in the fourth quarter. Elsewhere, Santa Teresa tops Cobre 42-6. Santa Teresa improves to 2-2 on the season. And Ruidoso leads Robertson 21-13. This in the fourth quarter. Now, late in the fourth quarter, Hatch Valley with a last-second touchdown. Hatch Valley tops Anthony 37-33. Let's head back out to our 915 Tours Game of the Week and join Steve Escajeda with an update on El Dorado and East Lake. Steve.
We've got 10:04 left to go in the ball game. We finally made it to the fourth quarter. It's now East Lake 24, El Dorado 3. It was 17-0, as we said earlier. El Dorado finally got a drive going that resulted in a Garrett Felix 29-yard field goal to cut it to 17-3. I mean, you need a field goal anyway, so the drive stall of the again kicked it to get within 2 touchdowns. But on the ensuing possession, East Lake, in the immortal words of our Brendan Cohen, said, "Not so fast there," and they put on a great drive, ending in a Jeremiah Escamilla 9-yard run to make it 24-3, and with just a little over 10 minutes to go in this one. That could be the backbreaker of the evening. So far, again, very. You know what? We're on the air. We got a kickoff, and we got almost a kickoff by El Dorado, returning the kick all the way to the 11-yard line of East Lake. So maybe the game isn't over yet. El Dorado's got a little bit of life in them. They're going to take over first, and they're going to call it officially inside the 10. So it'll be a first and goal at about the 9.5-yard line. So this one's not over yet. I'll tell you what, if things get hot, I'll call back.
Literally.
I guess that's an out. Okay, I'm just going to call back. Boom, I'm out. Peace out, Steve. All right, we'll hear from you in a little bit. Once again, 24-3, East Lake over El Dorado late in the fourth quarter there. Looks like Falcons are rolling. Maybe the Aztecs can mount a comeback. We'll see. Hey, we have a final from Robertson. Ruidoso tops Robertson 21-13. Ruidoso improves to 3-1 on the season. And this one should be winding down at the reservation. Let's go out to Hutchins Stadium for a wrap-up with J.D. Sursley on Isleta and Bowie High School. J.D.
Yeah, we're done here pretty much. Aris Gomez and the Isleta Indians, threw the salt on the dying bear. They scored again and got the 2-point conversion, so it's 49-26. Isleta over Bowie. Evan Martinez, I guess, is the MVP. 140 yards over in the air and 1 touchdown, but lackluster play, a lot of flags, a lot of fumbles. Apparently Bowie didn't take their cough syrup because they kept coughing it in their side of the field, and then that's why they blessed Isleta with so many points. 49-26 39-26. Isleta over Bowie.
All right, JD, thank you so much. Isleta pulling out their first victory of the season. It's a final 49-26. Isleta over Bowie. Isleta and Bowie both 1-2 on this season, and we'll see what happens after this one. Now, Isleta travels to Burgess. Burgess not playing well. That should be an interesting game. Meanwhile, the Bowie Bears, well, they get Jefferson at the Sun Bowl, so that should be a fun one. And Bowie's 100th centennial anniversary. See if the Bowie Bears can top their arch rivals, Jefferson Silver Foxes, next week at the Sun Bowl.
Yeah, and that should be a fun one. We just saw Jefferson, in their only loss this year, may have played their best game. They gave Riverside, a team that was in the round of 16 in the 4A state playoffs last year, everything they wanted for a while. And Bowie coming off the big Horizon win a week ago, 31-20. That was a little shocker to me. And they were able to hang in with Isleta as well. Maybe that's not the biggest deal, but compared to the Bowie team we saw last year, it really is, because Bowie got rolled a season ago. This is a much better team. The sophomore Abe Carrasco, a big part of it. Remember his brother, we always look at the brothers, Herman Carrasco. That's the guy who took Bowie to the district title. What was it, 2016? They hadn't won a district title since 1974 at the time. Carrasco at quarterback takes them there. I mean, they were co-champs, but they actually beat Andrus head up. So if you go back to the old school, they would have been the district champs. And as I said, one Carrasco was terrific for Bowie. I think this one's going to be a boon as well. Played a little quarterback last year as a freshman on a team that was really just miserable. This is a much better version of the Bowie Bears. And Abe Carrasco, the sophomore, is going to be a big part of whatever they do this year. Jeff, Bowie next week at the Sun Bowl should be fun.
Should absolutely be fun. We're actually going to ask our producer, Angel Munoz, to get Steve Escahead on the line. Aztecs just scored a touchdown, so cut the Eastlake lead to 14 in our 915 Tours Game of the Week. So it's now 24-10, Eastlake over El Dorado in the fourth quarter. Here come the Aztecs. Do you think they have it in them to score that many points against the Eastlake defense? That's tough.
Well, onside kick to come, I would say, if you're down a couple of scores. Even though there's a lot of time left, maybe try surprise onside. I did see Montwood come back from much more than this, about 20 down last night to Americas, and they were within, 8 yards of taking a victory instead. What was it, 42-39, something like that. Just came up short. End zone interception by our defensive player of the city, of the week, Mario Holguin. 3 interceptions, 1 a pick six, and 1 in the end zone to shut off the Montwood comeback with about 11 seconds left. So,
absolutely. We just read all the final scores. We just have one game still in action right now in the Borderland. Eastlake hosting El Dorado. Let's go out to Steve Escajeda. We got an Aztec touchdown. Steve, what happened out there at the sack?
Well, that one game just got a little bit closer. We told you that finally El Dorado had something going there near the 10-yard line. Well, they finally marked it at the 12. And on the very next play, quarterback Quincy Estrada hit Evan Garcia from that 12-yard line. The extra point was good, and El Dorado is still within striking distance, 24-10. They're down to Eastlake with 8:42 left to go here in the fourth quarter. However, Eastlake, the Falcons, do have the ball in their enemy territory. They're at about the 42-yard line. They're looking at a 3rd down and 2 from there. In fact, we'll show a play here. In fact, the quarterback's going to keep the ball, and he's going to gain a 1st down rather easily at the 35-yard line. So, 8:20 and counting in this ball game. Well, still hanging around. El Dorado, they're trailing Eastlake 24-10.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. 8 minutes to go, and that one just 24-10 now. This should be a fun one towards the end. We'll see if Eastlake can hold on, run out the clock, and really hold on to this game, or maybe El Dorado can force a turnover and really get back into this. Should be a lot of fun. We're going to take a break, come back with our top athlete and our senior player of the night. You're listening to Football Friday Night on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to Week 3 of Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Final scores all over the borderland. One game still in action. That's the East Lake Falcons leading the El Dorado Aztecs 24-10 late in the fourth quarter. East Lake looking to hold on to this one, and we'll get out to Steve Escajeda in just a moment. But we're going to talk about our senior player of the game, brought to you by the Greater El Paso Football Showcase, senior player of the night. And let's go out to Paul McKinnon. Who do you got?
Bo, thanks so much. Our senior player of the game is actually going to be our seniors players of the game. I think it all has to agree, doesn't it? And it's going to come from that good Riverside-Jefferson game. Remember, that was a one-score game in the second half. It balloons to 42-14 final, and the two biggest reasons, the quarterback Angel Munoz and the running back Jose Guardado, the yin and yang of the Riverside offense. Munoz tonight 139 yards through the air. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it is for a Riverside team that hardly throws it. 145 on the ground for Munoz. Remember, when Roman Gomez opened this contest with a kickoff return for a score, giving Jeff a big 7-0 lead and really igniting that Silver Foxes crowd. A few plays later, Munoz comes back with a 78-yard touchdown run to get Riverside right back into it. And as I said, he finished with 145 on the ground, 3 scores total. Jose Guardado, 112 yards rushing and a touchdown, but the big 58-yard touchdown reception. So these guys both do a little bit of it all. Oh, by the way, Munoz with an interception as well, at least his second on the season. So Angel Munoz and Jose Guardado, for all they do, are Week 3 seniors of the night for the Riverside Rangers.
Absolutely. Our senior football players must have your SAT, ACT results submitted to the Greater El Paso Football Showcase by December 1st if you want to be eligible for the Greater El Paso Football Showcase Combine and the All-Star Game. Go to 915showcase.com and their social media to see weekly top 5 performers, scores, and stats of teams and players and more. Once again, 915showcase.com for the Greater El Paso Football Showcase information about the Combine and the game. Now time for our top athlete, brought to you by Taco Avocat. Paul.
And, Bo, for that one, we go back to Thursday night and the sack and that thrilling 40-37 America's win over Montwood. And that D-back, we already mentioned him, Mario Hoguin, just a junior. But, boy, what a night he had. 3 picks on the night. He's already got 4 on the season. The big one, 11 seconds left in the game. Montwood driving the field, had a real opportunity to win this thing. The quarterback, Southern, forces it into coverage. He's running out of downs, running out of time. Ball tipped up in the air, and Hoguin grabs it in the end zone for his 3rd pick of the night. But the impressive one was the first one, and it was a momentum turner. First quarter, Montwood already up 3-zip. Trick play, a reverse throwback pass. It's Diego Oaxaca who stops. He rolls a little right, and he's looking to go back left, has his receiver streaking up the seam. Nobody near him. The only problem with the reason Mr. Oaxaca is a receiver, because he can catch the ball, not a quarterback, because can't throw it. All he's got to do is put a little air on it. He's going to have himself about a 60-yard touchdown, throws the ball on a line, and Mr. Hoguin, the safety, sees it, cuts in front of it, 63 yards the other direction. Americas takes a 7-3 lead and takes control of that game until late in the fourth quarter when, again, he himself puts it in the icebox, the interception, 11 seconds left. Oh, by the way, another pick in between. Mario Hoguin for a standout play on the defensive side of the ball, our athlete of the week for the America's Trailblazers.
Our top athlete, TA Taco Avocat. It's brought to you by Need a New Spot to Try? Experience Taco Avocat for feel-good fast food. Family packs available for the big game, or stop by their drive-thru and grab Taco Avocat to go. Dine in at 2114 North Zaragoza or order online at tacoavocat.com. And those have to be the biggest flautas I've ever seen. Hey, let's head out to Steve Escajeda. Speaking of flautas, have you had some out there at the sack, Steve? Watching this East Lake El Dorado game, what do you got for us?
Well, the first thing is I'm going to try to figure out that flauta reference. Second thing is, 24-10 still, East Lake leading El Dorado here at the sack. We've got 3:18 to go in the ball game. Again, not much has changed. Not a whole lot of action in the second half, but again, it's been mostly East Lake, and I guess another couple of storylines we can cover. Talented freshman for El Dorado, Ryan Estrada, came into the ball game averaging 159 yards on the ground in his first 2 games. Tonight, again, pretty quiet. 10 carries, 45 yards. That's been it. And he's got 6 carries tonight of those 10 where he's had either 1 or 0 yards on the carry. So he's had a really tough time tonight. Quarterback Quincy Estrada, big brother Quincy, only 4 out of 17 passes for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. And again, they're going really tough offensively, especially for El Dorado tonight. Eastlake, boy, I tell you what, they've been running that ball, pounding it, trying to use up the clock here in the second half. They've got 3 runners here that have gained at least 45 yards on the night, led by their quarterback, Luke O'Malley, 62 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Through the air so far, 14 out of 25, 209 yards, and also a scoring toss. And I'll tell you what, Isai Perea for Eastlake, 8 catches on the night, 150 yards, and a touchdown. So he's had a really, really nice game. We've got 309. We can almost see the light at the end of the tunnel here. 309 is the sack. It is Eastlake 24, El Dorado 10.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. And by the way, you're our favorite flauta. Great job out there. Once again, 24-10, 3 minutes to go. Eastlake over El Dorado. We're going to take a quick break, have a wrap-up from the SAC. We'll have all of our final scores, and take a look at next week. You're listening to Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Welcome back to the wrap-up of Week 3 in the Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. In our late game, Eastlake leads El Dorado 24-10. Just a few minutes to go in that one. We'll get a final report from Steve Escajeda in just a moment. Other 6A scores. Earlier today, Pebble Hills tops Eastwood 40-22. In 5A, we have Riverside over Jefferson 42-14. Del Valle over Andress 44-13. Canutillo shuts out Austin 35-0. Parkland all over Burgess 27-7. Hanks puts up 70 on the Irvin Rockets, winning it 70-21. Elsewhere in 5A, El Paso High tops Sanelli 45-14. Bel Air shuts out Chaparral 53-0. In 4A, Mountain View, previously undefeated Mountain View, falls to Seminole 60-21. Fort Stockton tops Horizon 31-3. And Cathedral defeats previously undefeated Fabens 12-7. In the Land of Enchantment, Rio Rancho tops Oregon Mountain 20-13. Centennial all over Mayfield 49-13. Hatch Valley gets a last-second touchdown to defeat Anthony 37-33. Santa Teresa tops Cobre 42-6. And Ruidoso defeats Robertson 21-13. Now let's head back out to Steve Escajeda before we look at next week's scores to get a last update from El Dorado and Eastlake. Steve.
Well, we've got 1:52 to go in the ball game. El Dorado's got the ball at the Eastlake 29-yard line, down 24-10. They're looking at a second down and 19 from there. Again, 1:52 to go. They're going to have to score a touchdown on this drive here if they're going to have any chance at all. Quincy Estrada in the shotgun. He's got the ball looking to pass under a heavy rush. He's still scrambling. He's going to be taken down right. In fact, he's going to be sacked. It's going to be a loss of a couple of yards back to the 31-yard line, and that sure isn't going to help things. We've got 1:35, 1:34 to go in this one, and El Dorado does not look like they're in too much of a hurry, believe it or not. We're down to 125, and still talking to the coach. They need a couple of scores here. Third down and 21 from the Eastlake 31-yard line. Again, down 24-10, down to 1:10 to go. Estrada, Quincy in the shotgun. He's got the snap, looking downfield. He's going to throw it toward the left corner of the end zone. He's got a man, and they might go. I thought they might call interference, but they're not. That was incomplete pass there, trying to hit Devin Rubio in the corner of the end zone. And, in fact, that fell incomplete. And that fact they're going to stop the clock because Rubio looks like he might be hurt, maybe cramping there in the end zone, looks like. So they're going to come out and take a look at it. 1:03 to go in the ball game. Eastlake pretty much has this one in hand, 24-10. Again, this is a 1-6A opener, both teams. So a big win for Eastlake and a very disappointing loss for El Dorado. Again, not able to do much at all on offense tonight. And one thing we knew coming into this ball game was Eastlake, in their first two games this year, had 7 turnovers, and they were 1-1. Tonight, they've been totally clean, no turnovers at all, much better, and that's a big reason why they've got this 24-10 lead. So they're still looking at the receiver there in the back of the end zone. It looked like he was crapping, was holding onto his leg, trying to stretch it out. But again, there's a stoppage in play. It's now 4th down and 21 from the 31-yard line. And, of course, this is going to be the last chance that El Dorado's going to have to at least try to get closer. And in fact, the receiver is up, and now he's walking back to his own sideline. Good to see that, walking on his own. So it looks like he'll be okay. And it looked like it was just cramping there in the end zone. 1:03 to go. I guess we'll stick around for this 4th down play. El Dorado still getting meeting with their coaches, see what they're going to do. Again, they're at the Eastlake 31-yard line. We're looking at a 4th down, 21 yards to go. They got to get the ball to the 10-yard line for a 1st down. And, of course, it's going to all depend on this play, whether they're going to have any kind of a chance at all just to tie this game. So here we go. Quarterback Quincy Estrada, the senior, in the shotgun, awaiting the snap. And he's got it. He's going to look back. He's going to fire to the right side. Got his man right there in the flat. and he's going to be knocked out of bounds on the 15-yard line, and that's it. That's going to go over to Eastlake, and that's pretty much it. They're probably going to run up the clock. And again, up 24-10 with 55 seconds to go, guys. That's going to be pretty much the ball game.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. Great job out there. We'll see you over at Union Draft House on Sunland Park. Eastlake bound to be victorious, 24-10. Just time ticking away, about 40 seconds to go in that one. Hey, we have some updated scores from our Longhorn Distributing out-of-town scoreboard, Paul.
Thanks, both. Few more rolled in. Of course, you heard these already. Midland Legacy takes out Abilene 56-20. Permian squeaks by Tascosa 13-12. Abilene Cooper holds on in overtime 41-38. They beat San Angelo Central, get their first win of the season. Central falls to 1-2. Keller takes down Odessa 50-21. Amarillo over Midland 27-8. Amarillo gets their first win. Midland their first loss. Wichita Falls Rider holds off Lubbock Coronado 28-24. The other Cooper, Lubbock Cooper takes down Abilene Wiley 42-35, 20-0. Caprock shuts out Pampa 33-26. Wichita Falls over Plainview. Amarillo Paladura 31-20. Good win over a tough 4A Lubbock Estacado. And Big Spring over Monahans. Remember, Monahans in District 4A, Division 2, along with Clint and Fabens and Mountain View these days. 24-20. Big Spring moves to 2-1. Monahans off a terrific 2021 now falls to 0-3. And Sweetwater takes down another member of that 2-4A Division 2 district, Pecos. 32-10, Sweetwater over Pecos. And for the last time tonight, that is your Longhorn Distributing out-of-town scoreboard.
Those are big wins for Sweetwater and especially Big Spring out there. Hey, taking a look at next week, we got a Thursday night matchup over the SAC. Pebble Hills taking on El Dorado. Should be a fun one, but the way Pebble Hills is playing, looks like that's going to be all Spartans in that one. And then what we're looking at is our 915 Tours Game of the Week. The Canutillo Eagles and the Divide Conquistadors, both teams 2-1. This is an old district rivalry. This is going to be a lot of fun at Conquest Stadium, Paul, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think it's a good time for it. Del Valle coming off their best win of the night, really had their way tonight. I think they found their mojo, if you want to say. Rudy Contreras in that bunch. And they're ready to meet up with Canutillo. And you talk about a team that's found their mojo, it's got to be Canutillo. Bad first week, but they've been playing terrifically since. Defense and, of course, Big L.J. Martin and that offense has been unstoppable. I think you threw the stat out. What is it, 36 points over the last 36-point average over the last couple of weeks after getting the big Schwazazel or the big anyway, no points in week one. By the way, just to get me out of this, out to the SAC, Eastlake, El Dorado. That one's gone final. 24-10, Eastlake takes down El Dorado.
Okay, Eastlake improving to 2-1 while El Dorado falls to 2-1. The early game at the SAC next weekend. Next Friday, Americus hosting Franklin. Americus pulling off a big win today over Montwood. Franklin playing early, traveling to the SAC. Maybe Americus looking for the upset there. I don't know, but Franklin really playing well right now.
Yeah, this game last year, Franklin a prohibitive favorite, and America's up in the first half. In fact, without the help of the officials, that one may have been out of reach. Franklin, a huge comeback in the second half to get it. But, by the way, it hasn't been mentioned. Remember, Matt Moore, week one against Midland Christian, went out third quarter with, he got speared, targeted as a matter of fact, and they had to take him off the field. Missed last week, but did play last night and was effective. He was as physical as ever. The America's passing game, who knows? They have Anthony Miranda, but it doesn't look that great. But when Moore's got the ball under his shoulder, he's a force to bring down, and he was all of that last night as he directed them to that big win. So Matt Moore back with America's. Facing Franklin, as I said, it was ugly a year ago. Maybe Americas can ugly it up again. That one's at the SAC. I've seen a few games. A little surprise. Usually you alternate venues. Franklin went out to the SAC last year. Now Franklin's going out there again, and we saw the same thing with Eastwood Pebble Hills tonight. The second straight year that the troop has gone out to the SAC to face Pebble Hills, so I guess we're in a new cycle or something.
Absolutely. New divisions, new regionals, new districts, I should say.
Same old schedule.
Yeah, we got. Eastlake travels to T-Bird Stadium. That should be interesting. Jack Quarles, Don Brooks Stadium. Coronado hosting Eastlake. Fun one. Andrews travels to Horizon. Chapin travels to Parkland. That should be a fun northeast battle there.
Yep.
Burgess hosting Isleta. Some other fun games there in 4A, Clint at Bel Air, Austin Hanks, Mountain View at Irvin. But another fun one, Jefferson and Bowie. On Bowie's 100th centennial celebration, the Bowie Bears and the Jefferson Silver Foxes Friday night at the Sun Bowl. That's going to be a fun one.
It really is. I just got to tell you, I'm impressed with the way Jefferson's playing. They're a better club. They lost their 4-year starting quarterback, Nathan Alcala, a year ago, and I thought that was going to be a big deal, especially because, the big running back, the Rubio kid, went with him. They did bring back a couple receivers that you like, and Roman Gomez was one of them, who, by the way, happens to be a pretty terrific athlete, and they're able to plug him in. He's been able to make plays along with the littlest Rubio, Miguel Rubio. He ran for 177 tonight. Had his first 200-yard game a week ago, runs for 177 tonight against a good Riverside defense. And remember, Gomez had the opening kickoff touchdown return that really got Jefferson moving in the right direction. Not good enough to stick with Riverside throughout the night, but gave him a much better game than I expected. Like I said, I like the way Jeff is playing. And by the way, this is a much better Bowie team from a year ago as well. So, good time for these two to meet.
It should be a fun one once again, Friday night in the Sun Bowl. And for all you high school football nostalgia fans, Friday night, Mayfield and Las Cruces. But my, how the mighty have fallen. Mayfield now a division lower than Las Cruces. This game to be played at the Field of Dreams, Friday night, 7 o'clock. Las Cruces does play tomorrow. They host Rio Rancho Cleveland, 1 o'clock at the Field of Dreams. We'll see which Las Cruces high school team shows up there.
It seems like we're knocking out a lot of these rivalry games so quickly. I mean, last night we had, Franklin Coronado, got that out of the way. Eastwood Pebble Hills, it's becoming a rivalry game, not historically one, but maybe or could have been, at least at this point, the a couple of the best teams in that district going at it already and getting this one out of the way. You throw Eastlake and Franklin in there as well, but it's already gone. So much for the anticipation. Let's just get these guys out on the field and let them go.
Yeah, this is not a district game for Mayfield or Las Cruces, so that's why it's early. I did talk to a Franklin assistant coach earlier today why the Coronado Franklin game was played so early. This is a new round-robin lottery system that UIL is using for Texas high school football, so it's not up to the districts anymore. It's not up to the high school teams. It's up to UIL and a lottery system. So they throw it up in the air,
right,
and wherever it lands, that's when they play.
No more Odessa, Permian, Midland Lee last game of the season.
Which I don't know. I kind of miss that. I think that would be a lot of fun. But hey, that's me. So, hey, that does it for week 3 of high school football Friday night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Remember, go to 600ESPNElPaso.com for all the scores, highlights, Prep 1 photos, and a recap of this very show. For Adrian Broadus, Angel Munoz, Paul McKinnon, I'm Bo Bagley. Thank you for tuning in to Week 3 of Football Friday Night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso.